listening to the Northern Hunter Podcast, home of all things hunting, fishing, and outdoors in Alaska.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is James Payne.
I'm Dalton Gray.
I'm Ryan Humphreys.
And today we are sitting down with Chris Alderman. Thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Awesome.
Yeah, so you are the owner of Screaming Eagle here in Alaska.
Yep, wife's the owner.
Wise the owner. There you go, wise man.
Let's get that.
Wise man.
Get that squared away.
So everybody in this room, we're all very familiar with your business. We've all bought things from you. But for anybody that might not know, go into a little bit about what you guys specialize in, how long you've been doing this, all that jazz. How many stores you got?
Yeah. So main store is Wasilla. We've been there. My wife and I have owned the shop since 13. It was there a couple years before that. So rolling on 11 years this week, actually. And then we've been here in Fairbanks for October's the anniversary for that. So we're roughly 2.5. No specialized. We just want everybody shooting a bow. I don't care what it is. We don't care what it is or how old you are. So
There you go.
If it's old, if it's new, fantastic. If you don't have anything, great. We're here for that. Buy one on eBay, Craigslist, Facebook, whatever. That's fine. I just want everybody to shoot a bow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they can bring it to you and you get them set up.
Yeah, answer all the questions, here for all the help. Kids, you know, we're working on the Fairbanks stuff. Of course, we run a lot of kids through the Wasilla with lessons and stuff. Yeah, we just want everybody involved having a good time shooting arrows.
Yeah,
there's something fun about shooting a bow, man.
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
Well, and I can attest to that because I've got several friends that have brought you older bows that then get, you know, tuned up and refitted with new parts and, you know, and then just turn it right, give them life again.
Yep.
Breathe new life.
Oh, it's fun, man, working on some of the older stuff and making it what it should be.
Exactly.
Pretty good time.
Yeah. So one thing we like to do is, for our listeners, give them a little backstory to who they're listening to.
Right.
So why don't you go into a little bit about
history,
where you came from, how you got to Alaska, kind of what got you into archery.
Right on. Born and raised in Florida.
Florida. All right.
Swamp kid, chasing hogs and shooting rattlesnakes.
Gotcha. You're about as polar opposite from that as you can get now.
My family's been off and on up here. I believe Uncle Scott started that with the military stuff back in the day, something around there. But anyway, I got pictures of me and my brother, my dad, and mom standing in Chugiak in like 86.
Okay. Yeah.
So we've been visiting for a long time. I spent time here, you know, when I graduated high school in Wasilla. It was pretty good. And then went back home for some stuff, ended up meeting my wife. So that's good. We're all from Florida. And then we come up in 08, but kind of going back to what got me shooting bows. Early 90s, we used to go to the Keys to take a summer vacation. That's a big thing Dad did for us, other than deer hunting, which is my other crazy thing. We'll get onto that. But I remember they were spear fishing. And, you know, we used to kill everything with BB guns. I mean, there was nothing safe, but took that old spear gun out and tried to get me a squirrel with it.
How'd that work?
Dad wasn't too impressed with that. And, here, you know, here's a bow, boy. Shoot this.
I don't think I ever heard of anybody trying to shoot a terrestrial animal with the spear gun.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I mean, but it's hard to lose the spear, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or did you take the line off of it so you could get a little better?
I wasn't that ahead of the thing. Yeah, I was just trying to get him.
Well, then you could shoot straight up above you then.
Yeah.
You know?
A lot of it sounded like dry fire in a new bow. I just remember going, oh, God, what did I do?
Well, did you get the squirrel?
I did not.
Oh, man.
You know, when they run up the tree and laugh at you? Oh, my God.
Yeah. Did you have gray squirrels down there?
Yeah.
Like big old fox-looking squirrels?
We had fox squirrels, too, yeah.
Yeah. Those things got some meat on them.
I'll say there's some eating squirrels down there.
Yeah. Completely the opposite of our little tree rats up here.
Not a tiny little tree rat.
Yeah.
You ever see that website, deadsquirrels.com?
Of course that exists.
It did. I don't know if it still exists. I've tried to find it. It was deadsquirrels.com, and it was like everything anti-squirrel.
Yeah.
Right. Anti-squirrel t-shirts, story after story after story of squirrel attacks and stuff, right? And squirrels burning down houses for chewing through wires.
That's one of the top animals that transmit rabies in the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
I'm feeling the next T-shirt.
Right.
And a squirrel with a spear gun on it.
Yes. I like that.
Screaming squirrel.
One of my favorite YouTube channels to watch that is completely not educational at all is watching guys pop squirrels with big old air guns. Yeah.
My son was watching that on YouTube.
They are awesome.
It's insane.
22 caliber air guns,
Air
and they
gun.
got slow mo.
Yeah. Air gun technology has gotten so far
That's
these days.
crazy.
One guy was packing tannerite in his pellet hollow point, and so it would blow up inside the squirrel.
Does it get that fast?
He was killing coons with it.
Really?
Oh yeah,
dude,
coons,
air guns
possums.
Those guys making some incredible shots with air guns.
That's true.
Field Ethos
They got
is big on the whole big air gun thing, and they call squirrels my favorite name that I've adopted now.
Yeah.
Yard grizzlies. They consistently have an article in every one of their magazines about yard grizzlies or some latest greatest new whiz banger air gun. They look like a riot.
They got air guns that shoot arrows now.
Yeah. I've heard about that.
Yeah.
Aren't there a couple of guys that have been killing Cape buffalo with air rifles now too?
They have.
I've seen something about that.
A couple videos on that.
Yeah. You talk about the perfect bear bait gun for a rifle zone. It's quiet.
Right.
Or at least some of them are.
Yeah, I was thinking more like backyard gun too. Just like,
There you go.
For yard grizzly protection.
Right, exactly.
Yard grizzly.
I know. I got a 1022. I'm modding like crazy for that. But
that might be our new T-shirt. Yard grizzly.
There you go.
Well, I'm pretty sure Field Ethos already has some branded yard grizzly stuff. But we could do the grizzly with the grizzly.
The yard
the squirrel
grizzly.
with the spear gun. Anyway, sorry. Squirrel trail.
It happens. That's why you chase them, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So you said he handed you a bow.
Oh, yeah.
You remember what kind it was?
Bear whitetail.
Bear whitetail.
Cutting edge, man.
Mm-hmm.
What year would that have been? How old were you?
Oh, God, it was early 90s. I don't know. I'm old now.
What color was it?
I want to say it was camo.
Was it? Okay. I remember
Probably
I've seen some of those old ones that had like the
black.
like the blue splotches on them or whatever. That's what I think of whenever I think of a bear bow.
Yeah, I don't know. Too much whiskey.
Yeah.
Like it was that classic story, shoot it in the air and then you can't see it, so everybody takes off running.
Yep.
It's just too much of that.
Yeah.
Hung out at a local archery shop, won some, like they did this, I just remember they did this deck of cards thing. It was like league night, right? Face down, you never knew what it was, and you bucks an arrow, and I hit it big one night and won the ace, and bought me and my buddy all summer at the archery range.
Nice.
Drinking Mountain Dew, eating Three Musketeers is fantastic.
Nice.
Living a high life. Right?
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I talked my wife into moving up here. I worked at Caterpillar back home for a while and got on with the guys up here, and they moved us up and looking for stuff to do. She was pregnant with her first kid, so we moved up in 08, and that was summer of 08, like Memorial Day or something like that. But met some guys, started hanging out at bow shop, met all our friends and family there. Still really close with most of the people we met that are like still around,
And that was in Wasilla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tony had started Screaming Eagle. Wayne was the main guy there. Wayne's still a good friend of mine. Texted me yesterday. He's back. They moved around this and that, but Wayne and Tony kind of split out and moved off 13, and we picked up the shop in April of 13, and here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And so right now you guys just have the 2 stores in Wasilla and Fairbanks.
Right. That's enough.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like every time I drive by the Fairbanks shop, there's cars in the parking lot.
Right. It's a great location's awesome right there. College Johansson. It's fantastic. It's just a small store, like you guys know.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that's not been in, we just don't have a range yet. We're working on that stuff. Andrew was here in the past. Andrew Wilson helped us get that store going. He's been a vital part of our team for a long time. So he told me to give me a year, and it's been 2.5. He's focused on his construction stuff back in Wasilla. Him and Chelsea get married.
Mm-hmm.
So they, family stuff down there. Nobody wants to be gone from home 5 days a week.
Right.
So we're working on, I got a new guy coming up here from Texas first week of May. And then also Tyler's been on board with us for a few years too. And they've got some opportunities. They're moving back east
Oh, he is. Okay.
I think they just put their house up for sale here recently. So
Oh, wow.
as soon as that's gone, they're going to be looking to get out. But we have a few. I got a few ideas and some few guys that are waiting on some other opportunities, this and that, to kind of expire and stuff to happen. So we're working on building a good team here. And as soon as we get that going, we'll focus on a little bit of a range thing. But Golden North, you guys know Golden North has a range here for you. Yeah. So that club is pretty good at keeping things going inside. And I believe, because I'm not here all the time, I don't know all the ins and outs, but I'm pretty sure they start running a 3D here for pretty soon outside.
Yeah. That's coming up here. It might be this Saturday or next Saturday is their snowshoe shoot.
Right.
Which is their first outdoor 3D course of the year. And they have that range off of Ezro Road out on Chena Hot Springs.
Nice.
And they shoot, I think their league night is Wednesday.
I thought it was Tuesdays for some reason. It might be Wednesdays.
I think it's Wednesdays now.
Okay.
It was Tuesday or Thursday a few years ago when my wife and I started going. And then it switched to Wednesdays. And then, anyway. But, I didn't make it to one outdoor 3D shoot last year. And I was really disappointed that I didn't do that.
Sure.
This year I'm going to get back on it because that was an absolute riot.
Nice.
There's nothing like shooting outdoors in the bugs, rain or shine. Obviously with some exceptions, but one year the smoke was so bad that shooting at the long targets, like they had an elk and a caribou that was like the long shot, and the compound shot was like 50 or 60 yards. And if nobody else was in front of us or waiting up behind us, our group would usually step back and try to shoot 70 or 80, something like that.
Yeah.
And one year, going back to 70 or 80, you could hardly even make out the target. The smoke was so bad. It was
crazy.
Terrible. But
I do remember that, yeah.
It's 2 rounds of shooting through the whole course, and it usually takes, I want to say, hour and a half to shoot through, which I think it's something like 25 or 30 arrows, something like that. But you split up into groups and walk through the course, and, it's natural woods, so every year you're clearing out lanes again, and it's a lot of fun, and you can do whatever you want. You can shoot for score or you can shoot for shot placement, and you can make it as fun as you want. And shooting with your friends like that's a fun community and a fun group to be with.
Nice.
They must be on the uphill side of Esro.
Yes, they are. The downhill side is a swamp.
I know.
It's right across the road from that little ranch in there.
Yeah.
At the back end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
It's back in there a little ways. Yeah.
That's good country back in there.
It's a great spot for a range.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Anyway, though, so you guys are working on a range at some point.
Yeah, I mean that's the ultimate goal, right? To get that going, so we can capitalize and get everybody in, start the lessons of learning, all the good stuff here, the leagues, have the indoor stuff for the wintertime, and somewhere for everybody to shoot. The lessons and stuff in Wasilla are on such a demand that we can't keep up.
Oh, really?
We don't have enough instructors. I could keep somebody busy as much as someone wanted to work.
Just doing archery lessons.
Just doing lessons. You could virtually build out as much work as you want to do. Like,
is this like a specific age group that these classes are for, or is this anybody can sign up?
Oh, it's everybody. I mean, I've got any age group that wants to come in and learn. People that haven't done it in 20 years or 40 years want to come in, and then the kids come in. It doesn't take long for one group to catch fire to the other. So we've had kids come in and say, "Hey, I want a bow. I shot one in Minecraft." I'm like, "Perfect. Let's go." Right?
Nice.
And then you give it about a month, and then mom and dad are like, "Okay, we're ready to shoot too." And then the other kids are shooting. Like, for a while there, it was the cartoon stuff with all that. But I've had handfuls of kids come in and like, "Hey, I have a bow and arrow on Minecraft. I want one." I'm like, "Sweet."
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
crazy.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
But, and then the other way around too, you've got the older generation that are moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, and they're getting the grandkids and everybody else into it. So it's something that most people like to do outside. Once you get into it, you got a nice little target outside, come home from work, blow off some steam, go shoot a bow.
Mm-hmm.
It's everybody is wanting to be involved, and they just want to do it properly. They don't want to screw anything up. They want to, nobody wants to hit their arm. Like that's the thing from back in the day. People come in like, "Hey, I ain't shot a bow in 20 years. And when I did, it sucked because I hit my arm." Well, we'll help you not do that.
Yeah.
Get proper equipment and fit you up and show you what to do and what not to do. And let's go have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're trying to bring on more instructors down there. It's just finding the proper people that want to spend time showing people how to do something else, and finding people that want to do anything for that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
In
I think
today's
it's
day and age.
Yeah, I think it's great to have people interested in a hobby that keeps them outside, even if they never hunt with
Right.
it. You know,
Yeah.
archery is just an addictive, and there's an art form to it. Like when you shoot and you watch that arrow just sail through the air and hit that target, there's just nothing like it. Yeah, beautiful. Anyway,
So what I'm hearing for anybody that might be listening to this show is
Right.
you're hiring.
always hiring.
Always hiring.
Yes.
So if you want to be a shooting instructor, call up.
Yeah.
Call up Screaming Eagle.
Yeah, well, like I said, we could use that now in Wasilla. My wife and I were talking about it the other day. I could literally keep a team of instructors, probably 4 to 6 strong, busy as much as they wanted to work.
wow,
You would have to say, no, I want the day off, to not have something to do.
wow.
That's incredible.
You know, we don't have that opportunity here yet with the range and stuff. So as soon as we build the team to grow this store a little bit more and start working towards that next step, we're going to need that here too, because it's just going to fire off.
Right.
Are you looking for guys to work at the staff at the Fairbanks store too?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We could use part-time, full-time help. Like I said, we've got the one guy up. He's probably going to be the number one here in the store.
The guy coming up from Texas.
Yeah, it's a big change. You know, he's not, no one, you know, he's never been here. So he's just like, hey, it sounds like an awesome adventure. I'll go for it. Let's come up. So, you know, as long as everything's kosher and we all get along like we have on the phone for all the interviews and stuff, it should be good.
Yeah.
But even that, like we were talking earlier today when you're in the store, there's just some kind of split schedule. Like nothing's got to be 9 to 5, Monday through Friday anymore or whatever. Like if somebody wants to work part-time a couple of days a week, like that's awesome, because I'd like to work a couple of days a week too, you know, especially bear season coming up. Everybody wants a little time off to go do stuff. You know, my kids will be out of school, so it doesn't have to be, I don't need a Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, but I'll go to the woods on a Tuesday, Wednesday. That's fine with me, you know. So
probably have better luck.
yeah, less people.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's always something to do. There's arrows to fletch and something to work on and something to do, and it's busy. You know, Fairbanks has been good to us and kept us busy for the last couple of years, so we're going to be here for a couple more.
Yeah.
So if anybody listening is interested in this job opportunity to work in the Fairbanks shop, how do they get a hold of you for an application?
Call us at the store. We don't look at the Facebook thing no more. We're on Instagram quite a bit, but that stuff's hard to look at from time to time.
Do you have a company email that they could get
ScreamingEagleArchery.com. That older website is just going to mostly advertise the Wasilla store. There is the Fairbanks stuff on there. Sorry. And then the Google sometimes is weird too, because the Wasilla store mostly gets hit on the Google stuff. So I get a lot of customers in Fairbanks that call us, and that's actually calling the Wasilla store.
Okay.
New website's coming online May 1st. Woodlands Marketing's been awesome with us with that. And that store is going to easily direct you to either Wasilla or Fairbanks. But yeah, ScreamingEagleArchery.com is the website. You can Google it. It'll bring you to either the Wasilla or the Fairbanks. If you call Wasilla, you're going to get Beth or I. So that's where we're at mostly. So just all the phone call stuff need to go there. But
so if you're interested in working at Screaming Eagle Archery, and you want to move to Alaska and work on bows,
call me.
Give you a call.
It's a good thing to have a job when you show up. That's for sure.
That's a good excuse to move to Alaska,
right?
And work in the industry, you know.
Right.
Get to meet a lot of neat fellas, I'm sure.
Yeah. I've had that conversation. I've had this conversation with multiple guys. We had some guys do some advertising for us and reached out. The Indeed thing just doesn't work out because you get a bunch of crazy guys on there. But we reached out to, known Tim Gillingham for a long time, and he threw some stuff up on his social. Wow. I mean, we got an awesome response. So the reach there, that is definitely the key. The social media stuff and getting the guys in the industry. So that's a conversation I've had with so many guys that is just scared to make the jump. Even single guys are kind of locked into a good job. You know, they're down in the Midwestern states doing their thing. They're like, yeah, Alaska's a dream, but it's just the fear of stepping out, right?
People are hesitant to leave a good job, especially in this economy.
Oh yeah.
That's a big risk.
Yeah, I could talk to a guy about anything. And then, like I said, we brought a guy up a while back, not necessarily working out, just didn't have the experience level we were hoping for. So a lot more hardcore phone and FaceTime interview stuff. And I think Aaron's going to work out pretty good. So we're pretty excited to have him up. See how that goes. Should be a good fit. And then there's a couple of local guys that have some stuff going on. Just great bow guys. Have been a huge supporter of ours for a long time. So waiting on a few things to just kind of pencil in and see where it goes. But
yeah,
I see the light at the end of the tunnel finally. So
good.
We should be.
That's the important part.
Yeah, we should be good.
But let's take a break real quick.
All right, folks. We all know that one of the most common mishaps in hunting is damage to your rifle scope. Last year, I found the solution to that problem with the Stealthy Hunter rifle cover. It wraps around your scope and actions securely to protect it from getting knocked off of zero or even severely damaged. Stealthy Hunter also has a glassing pad and a wide variety of supplements for the outdoorsman, such as protein powder, CBD products, turmeric, and gut health supplements. They also make a lightweight trauma kit weighing in at just 14 ounces that includes everything you need and nothing you don't for all of your backcountry medical emergencies. To shop all of their equipment and supplements, go to stealthyhunter.com and enter the discount code at checkout, The Northern Hunter, to save on your order today. All Stealthy Hunter equipment is proudly made in the USA.
All right, so you've been running this store for, you said, over 11 years now?
Yeah. Like I'm pretty sure this week
All right,
is
perfect.
11. Yeah, we had a pretty awesome get together last year, a big 10-year down in Wasilla. That was fun. So, but yeah, it's been a blur and a whirlwind. Like it's gone super fast. My daughter's 15 and starting to drive. Oh my gosh, man! I can't grow a beard anymore because it just looked like Santa Claus with a gray beard. I'm like, oh, geez. I'm getting old. It's terrible.
well, you're not that old.
No.
You got a lot of arrows left in you.
Yeah. That's
There you
nice.
go.
Yeah.
And so you've talked a lot about getting people into archery, wanting everybody to shoot.
Right.
One thing, I mean, we talked about it a lot on the shows, archery, hunting.
Sure.
So you talked about chasing deer and hogs and everything down there in Florida. Did you start doing that pretty quick after you got that bow?
Yeah, we tried. We do a lot of stuff down there. I tried to get some guys to bow hunt. It just wasn't. It just wasn't the thing. Even like I grew up pretty fortunate. My dad worked hard to take care of us, and there was a bunch of guys there where my dad worked that got together and had a hunting club in South Carolina. So I got to go see soybean and corn deer. Oh
there
my
you go.
gosh, yeah. So we went up there and did a lot of rifle ag hunting stuff. And I remember a couple of guys that want to shoot bows, and nobody really entertained the idea, but we didn't have a lot of woods lease there. So, and then even coming back home, like some of my buddies had bows, but they didn't really hunt a whole lot with it. So it was just kind of just something that we did. My friend and I, we shot quite a bit. I remember he shot a red fox, and we'd run around the orange grove, try to shoot rabbits and stuff like that.
Right.
But most of the hog hunting back home in Florida was all dogs. We just ran dogs on hogs, had a good time with that stuff.
Yep.
So the bow hunting for me didn't really pick back up until we got up here.
Okay.
Started hanging out at the shop. We didn't know very many people. My wife is pregnant. Like I said, we moved up in May. Courtney was born the end of December. And then Alaska for us, like that winter and even that summer was crazy. I remember we moved up and it just rained. It just rained. And my wife was like, "What did you do?"
Yeah.
I'm ready to go home.
You brought
Where did you put us at?
You brought the Florida monsoons with you.
Yeah, it was terrible. But so we just hung out at the shop all the time. Ended up, I'm like, man, black bear hunting looks awesome. Like I want to go. So, like this second guy to adopt me was John Bamberg. So he took me into hunting bears, and like I didn't even hardly know him. I just remember he's like, meet me at the bow shop. I'll pick you up and we'll go get some silver bullets and we'll go shoot some bears. I'm sweet. So we take this, what to me was like a 4-hour ride in a wheeler. I think it was probably an hour, but yeah, we're walking into the bait and I'm soaking wet because I fell in the creek, and I'm just classic Chris hunt. You'll see a theme here after this goes on for a while. And we just walk in, the bear's standing there looking at us. Shot my first bear, soaking wet, walking in the woods for 5 minutes.
Nice.
It's pretty cool.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Well,
Yeah.
So that was the hook. After that, it was just nonstop bear hunting with John and hanging out, and having a good time, and figuring that out. And took my wife, and she kind of freaked out about it, and then she wanted to shoot a bear. So it's just constantly chasing that, having a good time. My wife is crazy, putting up with me all the time, but like she didn't ever shoot an animal. She didn't grow up hunting, doing anything like that. So her first thing she ever killed was a black bear with a bow.
nice.
Like she didn't shoot a squirrel with a spear gun or nothing. Like, it was,
No soft entry.
I just think she's awesome and crazy all at the same time. Like
Yep.
I remember like first thing I shot was a blackbird with a BB gun, but hers is a blackbird with a bow.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Then after that summer, I tried to get her I wanted to buy an airboat. So my friend Rod that I used to work with had just had a new airboat. So we take her out on the airboat for an airboat ride so I can, try to butter her into letting me get an airboat. Of course, there's a bull moose and she smacks a freaking moose with her bow. I'm like, you're killing me. Like, I don't even have one. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
That's a good time. Yeah, all that just constantly rolled into wanting to be in the woods, and now the kids are in it. And
Yeah, that's great.
Courtney killed her first black bear crossbow, and she was like 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think Braden was 8. Yeah,
Nice.
my kids are crazy.
Yep.
Courtney just killed her first whitetail with a bow last year.
Nice.
Braden got his first buck with a crossbow. Yeah, we're
Right on.
trying to get after it, keep the kids involved, and having a good time with it.
Yeah.
Of course, they don't want nothing to do with hanging out at the bow shop.
Yeah. They're both high school age right now, you said?
Yeah, Braden's 6th grade, just into middle
Oh,
school,
okay.
and
Okay.
Courtney's, high school.
Scaring the death out of you now.
Mm-mm. No.
No?
Courtney? Mm-mm. No. She's going to kill me when she hears this, but she's too mean. Ain't a boy tough enough in that high school to even look at her, boy.
Good.
I'm telling you.
Good.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, she scares the crap out of me. I know she scares the crap out of them sissy laws that go to high school.
Right.
Yeah, ain't that the
Right.
truth?
All their blue hair and stuff.
Well,
I don't even know if we want to go down that
Well,
road.
yeah, you know
Piss
what?
off some people.
Yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, we can't even just poke fun at Wasilla for that either. It's everywhere now.
Yeah.
Man.
So-
Ain't
There's
that
more
the
of
truth?
it.
right. That's what we'll say at least.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
we
Well,
don't know
that's
that
good, though,
factually,
'cause
but we'll say that.
By the time a guy, musters up the metal to come talk to you when
Yeah.
when that time comes, he's already had to get through at least to
Yeah.
her to say hi,
Right.
so that there's at least that barrier.
Yeah, I get it. I guess
Yeah,
that,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you just got to take him out to the bear stand and be like, I will chop you up and put you in this barrel if you ever
Yeah.
give him the talk.
Sure, they know that's coming. Yeah.
So the one thing I keyed into on those stories is you were talking about they were shooting crossbows.
Yeah.
So I know there's kind of a line there in the archery world where some people care, some people don't care.
Right.
What's your stance?
It's a situational thing for me. So to shoot bows in Alaska, to shoot a black bear, you got to have 40 pounds.
Mhm.
My kids can't. They're just now teenagers getting to where they can shoot 40 pounds comfortably and accurately to where I want them to shoot at something,
Right,
to try to
right.
kill it. So we started looking at the crossbows. My kids, they like shooting guns, but my guns are there for certain purposes, and we just don't go to the gun range a lot, right? Because we only have so many days off, and we just want to go do other stuff. Last thing I want to go do on a Saturday or Sunday is go sit at the gun range.
Yeah.
So I started looking at crossbows because there's no recoil, there's no report. I like to shoot my bear baits and stuff. I don't really like to run a lot of firearms in there just because I don't know if it makes a big difference, but in my mind it does.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we started looking at that, and I think it's awesome for people that can't pull a bow anymore, that just don't want to go shoot a rifle.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now you get the other side of my opinion. It's a shoulder fired weapon with a scope. So I don't know if it should be in every archery zone. Like I kind of like the way it is here, where you can use it during general hunting.
Yeah.
or if you're close to town, or if you got closer neighbors or whatever,
Right.
around here, I think it's a tool to be utilized. I don't think it should just be, yes, you can use a crossbow in archery zones, but I definitely am a fan of the crossbows. I think they're awesome, amazing machines, and there's definitely a place and a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, the crossbow, the archery zone up here, you can't use a crossbow.
No,
right?
so
unless you have like a medical
unless you
exemption.
have
the way
Yeah.
Alaska
Yeah.
words it is
Yeah.
it's a bow and arrow area,
Right.
and
That's
a crossbow doesn't count as
Right.
a bow and arrow.
So we do probably 5 crossbows a year for guys that get the medical stuff. They got bad shoulders or whatever, and pulling the bow back is hard for them to do, and they want to do the processes and still be able to just go shoot an arrow,
right.
basically.
Yeah. What brand of crossbows do you like?
We just run Mission.
Okay.
I've played with a few other brands. I think they have the best product available. They're definitely, easy for me to deal with. The machines, we see a lot of the cheaper stuff come through the store, and I don't know, you definitely get what you pay for. I mean, some of these crossbows, like the Mission kit, is $2,300 or something like that.
Wow.
So it's not a cheap piece of machinery, but when you get your hands on it, you can feel that.
Yeah.
We've done
Right.
some other brands in the past, and I don't like to fool with them a whole lot. And if it's the ones that I'm going to sell with and represent and recommend to my customers that are wanting to get into crossbows, is only one option, in my opinion. So that's the one we stick with.
What's the lethal kill range of a crossbow?
It's like anything else. It's shooter dependent, but those scopes are hashed out for 100 yards. Like Mission's crossbow is called a sub 1. It's sub 1 inch group.
Okay.
It takes a lot of work to make that happen, but it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
What's the comparison you would say from a bow stance to a crossbow stance, as far as like tuning it, setting it up right, getting it all, to where
The compounds are way easier for me to
are
manipulate.
Yeah.
There's some special tuning. There's not as much that can go into the crossbow, in my opinion. And then this is also an experience thing. Like, I'll tell you, I just don't have a ton of experience tuning on the crossbows because we just don't do that much stuff with them.
Most of them shoot pretty well.
Yeah, they're typically easy to keep happy out of the box. I mean, I have done a couple of problematic ones, and we've worked through with Matthews and the guys at Tech to get them all lined up. But yeah, like, I've not been to a crossbow anything school or tech wise. It's just been on hands learning. I've been mechanic all my life, so take it apart, look at it, fix it, put it back together,
Hide the
just
spare
the way-
parts.
Yeah.
And Mission is the younger company that's under Matthews.
Mission,
basically.
yeah, Mission Matthews. It's just so, like, the bows they're cheaper, they're more basic, they're just not as fancy.
Yeah.
On the risers, you got less cut, you got less time to make it, so it's a cheaper product. It's still the same guys, still the same backup, still the same people putting them together. So
Is it made in the same factory as Matthews is?
Yep.
Really? Interesting.
It's like a Leopold Redfield kind of thing.
Yeah, that type of deal.
Mhm.
Very cool.
Very nice.
Yep.
Very cool. I wasn't even sure like what brands of crossbows are out there. I didn't even know Mission made crossbows.
yeah,
I
there's
didn't
a
either.
pile.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure there's a huge
Mhm.
amount of them out there, just like anything else.
What kind of velocity are you getting on a crossbow? And I suppose that would be a good question to couple with. I mean, I don't know if you call it draw weight, but
Yeah,
draw
so
tension.
From my understanding, it's significant.
Right. And a lot of the companies have stopped putting that spec available. Like, you're 300 pounds plus on those limbs.
Really?
Mm.
So a lot of
Wow.
your super, like your newest, latest, greatest crossbows are that 400 plus feet per second. There's some 450s.
Oh my!
I think somebody's trying to push a 480, but I just
Yeah.
don't keep up on
Right.
it that.
Wow.
When you're shooting a heavier arrow and broadhead setup,
Yeah,
right?
it's a shorter, bigger bolt.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
To think of a 1 MOA group of a crossbow
They're
too.
like, I can't have the kids, we don't shoot them that far. We're 30, 40 yards.
right.
Our bear bait's 22.
Mhm.
So we have the kids shoot a little bit, but I can't let the kids shoot at the same bullseye. Right.
yeah.
Cause even Courtney, when she was shooting that, and she's ready. It was fun to watch her mature into that, like ready to hunt something and want to do it at that young.
Mm.
Even at that age, I could not let her shoot at the same bullseye. She was breaking the bolts.
Really?
Yeah, they're
amazing.
crazy accurate. It's a lot of fun to shoot them. You know.
Yeah. Very nice.
What's the bolt weight difference compared to, say, a
they're
traditional compound? You know,
roughly the same.
Yeah, about
I mean, you can
400
get
to 600 grain setup.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And then some of your lighter ones that start pushing into that, they're still spining them up like a standard arrow. But you can change your components. You know, you got aluminum fronts, brass fronts, just like everything else. So
you can build it to what you want to do with it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, to an extent, you know, there's a lot of guys up here that I've heard talk about wanting to have them in the archery zones, and you know, that's. I don't think they should.
Me either.
You know, I mean, possibly for kids. I could see them making an exception for youth hunts. You know, for dedicated youth hunts.
Kids, elderly.
Right.
Yeah.
Medical exemption.
Yeah, medical
keep it the way it
exemptions.
is, really.
Yeah.
Well, because the biggest reason for that would be take the 5 mile corridor.
Sure.
You're hunting caribou, right?
Oh,
the biggest challenge of that is sitting up and taking the shot.
Right.
On a caribou most of the time.
Man, if I could
so
use
if you
crossbow,
could lay down with a crossbow and you practice the thing and you're confident to 100 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we don't like this word, but that would be a total game changer.
You don't like that word.
It would.
I use that word all the time.
it would be completely changing that hunt if you could allow crossbows up there.
The whole, I mean, there's two aspects, I think, to the archery zones. I mean, one is obviously safety when you're considering like the Fairbanks management area, right? I mean, you're shooting around houses and neighborhoods, down power easements, things like that. I mean, potentially, right? So you don't want to be cracking off firearms down the power easement.
No.
But, you know, there's also an aspect of limited hunting opportunity.
Right, right.
You know, I mean, can you imagine how we already have low moose numbers near Fairbanks? Like, can you imagine how much lower that would be if everybody that's used to shooting a rifle could just do the same thing with a little bit less range? And I mean, there wouldn't be any moose left.
Yeah, but I mean, name one spot in the management area that you'd be able to shoot more than 150 yards. There's probably not a whole lot of them.
Well, no.
Yeah, having crossbows would be like open it up to gun.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It would be completely
There'd
different.
be no moose left.
Yeah. And I would wager to say that there would be a lot more guys from even just in state that if you opened up the 5 mile corridor up on the Dalton to crossbow hunting, there'd be a lot more people doing it.
Right.
And I'd be one of them. Because it's only going to be a couple of years before they start regulating that hunt a lot more.
Yeah.
Because you'd be killing a lot more animals.
Wouldn't be allowed 5-6 animals. Yeah.
Like, look at the bows, you know, to run into that Dalton Highway, you can't use magnified scopes, this and that. You know, you give a guy a shoulder fired weapon that you can throw in a bipod or a tripod and use a magnified scope, and now you're it's not a bow.
Yeah, that would completely change it. But
yeah,
that's interesting. But I can definitely see the advantages of it. I mean, even in a gun zone for like a bear bait,
right?
You know, if you want to be quiet but you're not an archer, or you can't shoot a bow for a while.
Yeah,
now, I messed up my left shoulder when I was a teenager, and I couldn't shoot a bow for a couple of years.
Right.
And I shot bears at baits with a gun, but I would have happily, had there been an archery shop in town that I wanted to go to and get a crossbow from for a reasonable rate, I would have happily went and bought one.
Well, and we've talked about that here in the studio. That's kind of what I'm, planning on doing and hoping to do. I mean, I have a bow. I'm going to pick your brain about that later, but you know, I've traditionally never been an archery guy. You know, and I'm super curious about it. I want to get into it. But just the equipment barrier and everything like that, getting the cost of entry has always kind of kept me out. But I've totally thought about that.
Yeah.
Crossbow at the bear bait, man. I mean, if you're used to shooting a rifle, I mean, it's quiet.
To me, it's just something different to try. Because I've tried a bunch of different guns. I've shot a bunch of different stuff. I've shot, different bows over the years. And I just like shooting bears with different stuff because it's a more controlled environment.
Yeah.
I have a lot more control over my shots and what I shoot and what angles.
And seeing the way bears die
and it's
when they
fun.
get hit by an arrow.
It's
That's
just
pretty
fun.
cool.
I'll have to dig up my son's crossbow black bear. It'll blow your mind.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of those videos on like YouTube of outfits in Canada that are using crossbows at bear baits, and they just destroy those bears.
I'm sure.
It's very fun to watch those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's an interesting conversation always, though, because there's so many varying opinions on it.
Right.
Everybody's just back and forth and back and forth.
I have a question for you, Chris.
Fire away.
While we're on the crossbow thing, what is the broadhead market like?
for crossbows because, you know, you hear some guys talking about expanding broadheads in some of the high speed compound
like
bows.
Schwacker has some that are compound versus,
and they have
crossbow.
issues with them, right? So different speeds are advantageous to different style of broadheads.
Yes.
What is the most prevalent in the in the crossbow world? Is it expanding, fixed?
I'm a big mechanical guy, period.
Okay.
I don't care what I'm shooting.
Okay.
I like to run the mechanicals out of the crossbows. Like Schwacker specifically makes a giant 150 grain. So we had a customer, my son shot his bear with it. And then a friend of mine does the taxidermy for me. He was like, what did you poke a hole in this thing with? It was giant.
Huh.
I'm like, yeah, we use a Schwacker. And he said, he said, we take my grandson down to the bear bait and we shoot the brownies with this crossbow. He said, we're using a fixed blade head. Can we use this head on a brown bear? And we talked about what crossbows run. I said, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, would you do that with, like, you would go with us to do that? And I was like, yeah, I would totally do that with my son. Like, I'm not going to set you up for failure. Right. So they're in the marshy stuff and the wets and, in the timber a little bit. And they're having light blood trails, 100, 150, 250 yard recoveries with these 7 to 8.5 foot brown bears. I mean, when you're out there with your 10-year-old grandson, that's the last thing you want.
Mm-hmm.
So last year I rigged them up. We come in, we shot, we set them up with these big Schwackers. I think they had a 40-yard recovery this year on their bear, and they watched it die from the stand.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is that like a 2-inch cut expanding? Or
I think it's
inch
an
and a half?
advertised 3.
Yeah.
It's 150
smokes.
grain steel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've got crazy cut widths on those things.
Right. So the mechanical stuff is slowly catching up. Everything, the consistency and the dependability of all the components involved in archery anymore, I think, is just coming off the charts. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got to stiffen up your retention system to make sure those don't open on takeoff.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think all the companies are doing a fantastic job. We've got Schwacker in, we've got Rage. Those are typically the big two that I lean on for mechanical blade.
Mm.
I do have like Exodus and some other stuff that are just a fixed blade, crossbow specific head. So typically they're a little bit heavier ferrule or blade designed to just handle the sudden takeoff that impact.
Have you ever noticed any kind of deformation on those Schwackers or the Rages when they open?
I've had some stuff bend. Yeah. I mean, you're running those blades through an animal with bones, like on moose and stuff like that. I mean, they're going to bend up pretty good. I killed a whitetail in Tennessee a few years back, and my tri-pan was just demolished. But following the blood trail was quite easy.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, how have you noticed that affecting the performance at all? Like limiting penetration at all, or it just doesn't seem to matter? Like once it's in there, it's in there. Kind of thing.
It's a shot placement arrow bow setup thing. Like my wife and kids aren't running mechanicals, right? Because they're lower poundage, lower energy. Like when those blades open up, it's just like opening a parachute or pumping the brakes, right? Because that surface area has got to increase, and now you just open the blades.
Well, increased drag.
Right.
Yeah.
Typically, I'll talk to a guy if he's a pocket heart shooting rifle guy, I'm fixed blade. I'm not going to set a mechanical. Like we talked about this earlier. Like I'm a middle of the middle rib cage guy, especially on bears. Just seen it. I don't know, 40, 50 times. You see what works and what doesn't.
Yep.
So
Very interesting.
Well, let's take a break real quick. Hammer Bullets produces what we at the Northern Hunter consider to be the most premium and best working monolithic bullets on the market today. These bullets are easy to load, extremely accurate, and best of all, they're always in stock and ready to ship. The guys at Hammer designed them so that after penetrating the hide of an animal, it sheds its petals, initiating a massive energy dump while retaining the rear shank for maximum penetration. These bullets are built with 100% focus on how they perform on game, and their proprietary designs produce great BCs with specialized pressure grooves for amazing inherent accuracy and speed. They have a minimum expansion velocity of 1,800 feet per second, which allows for long-range shots, but with no maximum velocity, making them perfect for every cartridge from your granddaddy's old 30-30 to the high-velocity round like the Weatherby 3378 without having to worry about your bullet failing. To view their expansive selection and find the perfect match for your hunting needs, go to hammerbullets.com and use discount code TheNorthernHunter to drop the hammer on your next adventure. So I want to pick your brain a little bit about gear. One thing I like about you guys' shop in particular is
Right.
a guy like me can walk in there with no idea what I'm looking for, no idea what I need, because of whatever limitations I have or something.
Right.
And walk out of there with exactly what I need.
Perfect.
That happened to me last spring. Went in there and got me Matthews Atlas.
Yep.
Which
Awesome.
is one of the only two that fit my draw length.
Yes.
So what would you say for a new Alaska resident looking to get into a little bit of bow hunting, whether it's at a bear bait
Right.
or, moose around the archery zone?
Yep.
What would you say is like the starting point, what they should look at, kind of budget wise, what kind of make and model,
Yep.
all that?
So there's tons of opinions online, and there's a million ways to do it. None of it's wrong, is this little dumb thing that I like to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like to run my shop. We like to run my shop. My wife and I were all kind of the same. We do it differently than some of the other guys. If you guys come in and say, I'm new, I want to get going, what do I need? I'm going to confuse you because there's multiple options typically,
Yeah.
unless you're
Only have two options.
6'8" and have
Right.
Right.
Albatross wingspan.
Yes. So I like to show you all the options, show you what a package is, show you what the cheaper stuff is, the mid-grade, and then the high-end stuff, and then let a person decide what they think their budget needs to be. I'll give you all the options based on the conversations that we have. Almost all the bows in the store are capable of meeting the legal requirements to hunt here.
Yeah.
There's only a few that aren't, and typically those are just a couple model kids bows. Like most of these bows have the ability to go up to 40 pounds is so like your big 40 pounds is black bear caribou, 50 pounds is brown bear moose. Typically someone is involved or wanting to chase one of those four.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all the bows in the store, with the exception of a few kids, have the ability to meet that requirement.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
I like to give guy stuff that's in his budget, typically 2 to 3 options, and then you pick the one you like. I like certain things, you like certain things, you like
Mhm.
something different, and I'm not the guy, and we're not the people to say this is what you need, this is your option, this is the only thing you have to buy, this is, everything else is garbage, blah blah blah. So that's just not the way we roll. I like to let you guys make your own choices and just give you a few options in that.
Yeah.
So there's good package bows. Typically something's going to start around $700.
Okay.
You need a trigger release, you need some arrows, which is roughly another 150 based on your option, and then how many arrows you want to take with you.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is comfort, talk you through the process, get you fitted up properly, get you shooting properly, peep alignment, comfort, and then you got to get some experience in the field.
Yeah.
Like I can't sight in your pins for you. I can eyeball it, I can get it close,
Mhm.
but ultimately that's a work that's got to be done on the shooter at the house, right?
Right.
So even in Wasilla, we only have 20 yards. I don't have the ability to shoot. I don't have property for it, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the shooters got to take initiative, go do their own thing, get some stuff sighted in,
Mm-hmm.
get it figured out. Like down in Wasilla, we have any bow purchase is 3 days free back in the range. First bow tune-up's free. Right.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
get you back in, answer the questions, talk about the stuff, show the equipment, make sure there's no problems, run you through paper tune-up, get you flying and everything answered and happy, and get you back out shooting. So here, bow purchase, the guys at Golden North give you a year in the club for free.
Go.
You just have to take your receipt of the bow purchase to them, and they give you a year there for free.
That's
So,
a pretty
Nice.
good deal.
That is
Yeah.
a really good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's $10 a week to shoot at the 3D range in
Yeah.
the summertime.
Mhm.
I think that's right. And it's like a $30 or $35 a year membership.
Yeah.
So depending on how many times you go, that could be a good
Yeah.
amount of money.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't have the facility to house that shooting opportunities here, but the club has stepped up big time and given the
Yeah.
guys that
Yeah.
option. So that's huge.
That's awesome. You guys are working together like that.
Yeah.
I have kind of a side question about bow tune-ups. So
Sure.
you mentioned the first tune-up's free.
Yep.
How concerned should somebody be? Obviously, this is just compound bows.
Right.
Say they come in, buy a bow.
Mm-hmm.
And they bring it back in. They say, hey, I got it all sighted in. Let's just make sure that we're shooting good through paper. Let's just make sure nothing, string stretch, all that kind of thing.
Right.
You readjust maybe the peep, move it.
Yeah.
Something stretches, right? You tie it in permanently. How long in between that should somebody come back in to check and see if everything's still shooting and tuned properly?
I'd like to have you guys in before hunting season. It depends on how much shooting is done.
Every year.
Yeah, period.
Mhm.
Okay.
Like the biggest thing that I kind of keep my mouth quiet on, because I'm not the guy to tell a person that I hate telling a guy what he needs to do with his equipment. Like, you get some guys in that understand things cost, and I mean, we see original Matthews switchbacks and MQs with original strings on them. I'm talking a 10, 12, 15-year-old bow that still has the original string and cable set on it.
Wow.
I'm like, come on, guys. Yeah, you can't hit nothing because this is not proper. And I can't tighten everything up. I can't twist everything up enough to put it back in its spec like you need new. Well, 2024 pricing, welcome to that.
Right.
Nice set of strings and cables, $150. And then my time, it takes time to do these things properly. And then we're new D-loop. We're tying the peep in. We're making sure timing's on. We're giving you that bow back to you very close to brand new. And it's ready to go. That costs you, $200.
So what can happen between the end of hunting season and the beginning of next hunting season? Somebody just shooting for practice. What comes out? Is it an alignment issue that can wear out? Is it string stretch?
So those strings and cables are holding that bow together, right? And most of the time, if it's just sitting there not doing anything, is it going to be way out of spec? No. Is it going to need a lot of attention? No. But let's make sure that you didn't bump it on something and fray your string and you got this or that, or your D-loop's about to break because you shot the crap out of it before hunting season, or your peep's twisting around, or just something's a little bit off, right? So every time we're shooting that thing, it's like pumping the brakes on a car. Eventually they're going to wear out. Strings and cable stretch are under a lot of tension. They've got a lifespan. I think that's the biggest thing on a bow. It needs a little bit of love and maintenance and keep that thing happy. I mean, the string cable's what's holding it together, right? And that's what's driving your arrow.
Right.
So that thing's doing a lot of work. Let's keep it happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the thing we see. New bows, most of your high-end bows, they typically don't need a whole lot. We get a couple hundred arrows through them. You might get a little peep twist. It's typically easy for us to fix, straighten it out, make it to where it's not problematic. Everything's running happy. Some of them, sometimes one of the cables is being a turd and it's problematic and we need to work on it a little bit more than the other. I mean, you got people making these things all hours of the day, and I honestly believe every now and then you get a Friday or a Monday
you want to get the Wednesday bow.
Yeah.
That's the one you want.
Yeah. I mean, it's people putting things together, right? People, I make mistakes. We make mistakes. People do things crazy. So we just got to keep an eye on it. And the last thing I want a guy to do is buy a bow and buy a bunch of broadheads and go bow hunting tomorrow. Like, that's just not going to work.
Right.
We got to be better than that, and we owe it to the animal to be better than that. So let's do what we can and keep our equipment running good. Get a new bow in. Let's shoot it. Have some fun with it. Figure out what works.
Yeah.
And then make sure everything's happy. Give me 2 or 3 weeks before hunting season, not the 4. I need my bow fixed now. Yeah.
So, in kind of that same vein of things, James talked about his draw length issue, right? And so I remember, my dad had a old Hoyt Ultra Tech, and I shot that for several years.
Fantastic.
And I loved that bow. But it had, it had on the cams, it had adjustability, like a wide range of draw length adjustability. Right. Seems like you don't really see that anymore.
Your Hoyts still have that.
Do some of the Hoyts still have that?
Yeah. So now, we used to have to get crazy and change cams and strings and cable links and all this stuff. And now Hoyt's gone binary in the last couple of years. So it's just a mod. There's a number 1, number 2, number 3.
Okay.
They all cover a swinging range.
Nice.
Your Matthews, mod specific. I need to change that set of mods. They've got a fantastic system. I can change peak draw weight, let off, and draw length with just the module change. So there's definitely value in if somebody wants versatility and the ability to do stuff on the bow themselves. Like Bowtech has a rotating mod, Elite has a rotating mod, Prime is mod specific. Hoyt has a rotating mod, so everybody's got a little different system to make their adjustments.
Okay,
gotcha.
What do you think about Elite's system? So that's the bow that I've got right now. It's a 2020 Elite Cure, right? Yep. I bought that one brand new, and it was on sale. It was going out of it was going dated, and so the store that I bought it from, Sportsman's, they were switching out to the new bow for the next year,
right?
And so this one went on sale. It was my first brand new compound, and I bought it because it worked, seemed fine, and it still shoots fine. It needs a little tune up, and we're going to deal with that here soon. But it has some user adjustability for tuning, and you can change the cam, cant, and all that kind of stuff. How much experience does somebody need to have outside of just watching a YouTube video on how to do it? Do you recommend that some guys, learn their stuff and learn how to do that?
Yeah,
or
absolutely. I mean, we need to know what it's doing and why.
Yeah.
Right. So conversation's easy. YouTube's great. Come in and see us. We'll show you what it's doing. Like if you don't have a paper rack, or if you're trying to do some tuning stuff and you want to understand what it's doing, it's easy to track that in the paper.
Yeah.
Those systems I think are fantastic for the guy that is out of town, not close to a shop, or just wants to completely do something themselves.
Yeah.
It's a pretty awesome, easy thing to do.
Do you sell a decent number of the Elites?
We do. Yep. Typically, it's going to lay on who's shooting what in the shop. So Andrew and Tyler have been shooting Hoyts for a while. So we sell a lot of Hoyts in this store. And Wasilla, to me, is close. But when you think about it, I guess 350 miles is not all that close.
Right.
People in Lower America kind of freak out about that. You drive how far? But, if my wife and I and most of the guys down there, a couple of my friends that help us in the store, most of us are Matthews guys. So tons of Matthews running through the Wasilla store. So it's definitely historical and tracks along who's shooting what. Elites have been a newer brand for us. We've only gotten back into in the last couple of years, but like Elite and PSE are hard for shops like myself because you can go to Sportsman's and there they are on sale. So it's a hard market, and you just can't compete with a box store. There's no doing it.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to walk in and walk out with the tools to work on their compound, do you sell bow vices and stuff like that too?
I typically don't have them on the shelves because there's a lot of options.
There are a ton of options.
Like the nice ones that we like to run, the Ram vices, they're a little expensive. So to sit on that inventory sometimes is hard for us. It's very quick to get.
Okay.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to set up a shop,
right,
just in their garage, they can have everything they need if they're, like you said, not close to a shop, and they don't have the luxury of just being able to run into town with a bow shop.
Press is also like, let's throw it in there and we'll split some shipping if we got some big stuff coming.
Yeah.
Typically those guys are taking care of us because we're doing such a large bulk with some products that are coming up. So yeah, we can get everything in, and then, everybody's got access to Lancaster, right? But if you guys are wanting something and you need something that we don't have in the store, like we're paying that freight for you. So you might have to wait a week or two longer, but we're trying to make that beneficial for the consumer on our side, is just pay that freight.
Like you say, if you don't walk in the day before you need it.
Right. Yeah, then it's not a problem.
that helps a lot.
Well, and I'll just take a second to give you and your shop a little praise because kind of on the topic of, what brands do you sell? What kind of things, when I went in there were, like I said, just two options, but, one was the Matthews that I ended up with, and the other one was a Hoyt. I don't know what model.
That's a Highline.
Highline. Okay.
Yeah, it's probably the one I was shooting today.
It is.
Yeah.
And the best part was, and it may, I'm sure this can't happen all the time if the shop's super busy or whatnot, but he literally set up both bows for me.
Oh yeah, no, that's
what my draw length and everything.
Yep.
I got to shoot both, feel how they shoot, how they follow through, everything. And it was an amazing thing. And there was no brand pushing, there was no nothing. It was, how does this feel for you?
Right.
How is this for you? How does it balanced in your hand? And
right.
It was a phenomenal experience.
That's the only way to get an apples to apples comparison, right? We can't set up one bow at 70 pounds on another bow at 60 and expect you to make a a comparison.
Right.
And that's where I said earlier, there's no wrong way to do it. Like, I just want you guys happy in the end. So we're going to set the draw length up for you, the poundage at what you want, talk to you through the differences and let you shoot them and figure out which one you like. I mean, that's our job, right?
And you do it well.
We try.
Yeah.
So what's your preferred setup for Alaska? Are you a light and fast guy? Are you a heavy and slow guy? Are you
My setup in Alaska is geared for whitetail.
Is it really?
Ain't a lot of them around here.
I don't care about anything else. I'll gear my setup. I like a little bit lighter stuff. A different setup. Basic draw length, 28 and a half, 70 pounds. Nothing fancy, but I settled on a micro diameter arrow a while back and ended up with this FOC thing before it was the cool thing to do. So I like those arrows a little heavier in the front. Typically, I'm running 435 grains. I like a mechanical. I don't shoot a fixed blade. I love a big, nasty hole in something, and it's amazing. So that's my setup here is just like I hunt everywhere else because I don't have time to swap back and forth a lot on certain things. So I'll set up. I don't change a lot of equipment stuff from time to time. Like I might play with a new sight or this or that or try out something so that I can speak for it and talk about how it puts up with me dropping it out of a tree stand all the time because that happens a lot.
There's an abuse standpoint. I get that.
I'm pretty clumsy in the things. Some of my friends wonder how I do anything. I honestly, I don't know. I just get stupid lucky, or the animals are simply coming to see what in the world is going on.
Right.
Yeah.
You ever shoot with one of those Garmin sights?
No. Actually just talked to Garmin today, getting set up. Those sites are typically going to be illegal in any of the bow only zones here.
Are they really?
That electronic, anything electronic mounted is going to be no.
I haven't even looked at buying one personally. So
I've played with them a little bit. They're awesome machines, but from what I understand, it takes a lot to set up.
I imagine setup and learning to use.
I've helped a customer set one up, but it's been a few years. And anyway, I'm going to try to get some of that product in our hands. We're mainly bringing the Garmin online for their chrono they just come out with. It's pretty slick.
That's that Garmin Zero.
Yeah, pretty nice. We've played with a few, and they're fantastic.
We've been looking at those too.
Yeah.
Well, orders going in Tuesday, boys.
Ooh.
So,
well,
you put your name on one.
We'll have to talk.
Yeah.
Right.
I might need one of those.
Gives me a few days to convince the wife.
I've been borrowing a buddy's lab radar. I think I've had his lab radar for like 6 months now.
Yeah.
I keep asking, you need that back? Oh, no, just let me know when you're done with it. I'm like, well, I might use it. So it's sitting next to my desk at home, and every once in a while I take it out and use it.
Nice.
Well, it's either a new bow or
Right.
Garmin Zero.
Yeah.
Fine.
Probably leaning towards the new bow instead.
Twisting my arm here. Yeah, it's set up nice and easy for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Change a new bow and
So you mentioned broadheads.
Yep.
You get a lot of guys, I'm sure, wanting to know what broadheads to shoot. And we've talked about that on the show before.
Oh my gosh.
People know kind of our preferences, and we've talked about that, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse. But you mentioned expandables.
Yep.
Did you come from the fixed side back in the day, or did you? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you want to switch to mechanicals?
I was curious about the operation and the reliability.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when you come into the shop, typically you're only going to see a few brands.
Mm-hmm.
You Google broadheads, and I don't know how many companies there are.
Yeah.
It's
Unlimited.
mind-boggling.
Yeah.
So typically everything in the store we have experience with, we've used in the past, or we're currently using. So we can speak to that. So shot Slick Trick for a long time, killed a couple of critters up here with Slick Trick, and fantastic blades, right? They're still in the store. You can find them at both the shops. And wasn't a fan of some of the mechanical stuff when they just had the collars.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rage come out with their design, or the rubber bands, not the collars. The previous mechanicals had the rubber bands around them. I just wasn't a monstrous fan of that. So when Rage come out with their collar design, I was a huge fan of the hypodermic.
Mm-hmm.
And then that, I believe, was the first year that Alaska allowed us to hunt with mechanicals. Was kind of the change over that. So started playing with that, shot a couple bears with them. And when you watch an arrow fly through a bear with a mechanical broadhead and he kind of looks like he pops and he only runs about 10 yards, it's just, it makes going to find a bear in 6 foot tall really easy.
So that's one thing. I haven't killed a ton of bears myself.
Right.
But every bear that I've killed with a bow has been with a fixed blade, and the furthest I ever had one run was 50 yards.
Yep. So shot placement's key. It's fantastic.
And it has a lot to do with it. Now, I did shoot slick tricks for a while.
Yep.
And I probably won't ever shoot those again.
Right.
They're not cut on contact. They're too small.
Sure.
In my opinion. But no, that's just, I haven't ever shot mechanicals.
Yeah.
I've talked to guys that do. I've talked to guys that have, and so they'll never shoot them again.
Right. I think they're, and this is just my opinion, and might get just beat up for it, but that's just what I see and all the stuff I hear. A guy makes a crap shot and loses an animal with a fixed blade. He made a crap shot.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes a crap shot and loses an animal with a mechanical, and it didn't open, or I didn't get penetration. So you start blaming the equipment for
that makes sense. Yeah.
Gives you an avenue for excuses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a scapegoat. It's a way out.
So then question then about the mechanicals.
Yep.
You're shooting, say, a black bear.
Yep.
Okay. Let's just say 50, 60 pound bow, somewhere around there. At a bait site, you're looking at 20 yards or less. Let's just say 15 or less. And you hit a rib on the entry and a rib on the way out. Is that broadhead even going to make it to the offside? Do you see them bust through ribs like that and then still get through just fine?
Yep.
Yeah. Not an issue.
I've not seen one personally, no.
Okay.
Shoulder blade stuff, getting up in that elbow, yeah, you're messing with.
Well, yeah, but you don't want to do that with any broadhead because that's not where you want to shoot them anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you see where we're going with that.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I've not seen personally.
Haven't seen an issue with them busting through ribs.
Nope.
Yeah.
Ribs is where it's at.
Yeah.
I'm aiming in the middle every time.
Yeah.
Phone's full of videos.
I don't doubt it.
Yep.
Do you see a lot of those tips curled over if you hit a rib?
I haven't seen a lot of ferrule damage. No, typically your blades, because they're the thinnest part of everything going through there, and that's where they're at their widest. And if they're trying to slip through those ribs, that arrow's spinning, you got a lot of energy built into that thing. Those blades are going to bend. So I've seen the blades bent up to where you can't reuse the broadhead, but I'm a one and done guy. I'll buy the next animal a brand new broadhead. Like I owe it to him to shoot him with the sharpest thing I can find.
Absolutely.
So I'm not looking for reusability. And if my mechanical blade is bent to crap after I'm done with it, then that's fine with me.
As long as it killed the
Yeah.
animal.
I've got lots of bent broadheads in the bucket, and that's where they go.
Well, then kind of on the, the complete other side of the pendulum.
Yeah.
You have the guys, probably more from the trad history side of it, which is where I came from in the archery world. Reading traditional bowhunter magazine as a kid, I was always reading the articles by Ed Ashby.
Yep.
High FOC, super heavy arrows, cut on contact only, and even getting into the single bevel thing.
Sure.
Which now I see more companies that don't just make single bevels now start offering a single bevel option.
Yeah.
Good example of that's Iron Will.
Right.
What do you see on the fixed blade side of things? What's the difference in your opinion from all the different options out there? Because there's a lot of them. 3-blade. The typical, like for instance the G5s, what used to be the Montec and now is the M3. That style of 3-blade. Then you got the 2-blade traditionals with bleeders on them.
Yep. Then
you got just the straight 2 blades. Of all that's out there, you have a huge variety and price difference. You can buy a 6-pack of Zwicky's online that are just stamped broadheads, which is what my granddad shot back in the 60s.
Right.
For like, I don't know, $30, something like that. And then you can get up to what I saw in the shop today that I was looking at is the Iron Will 4-blades.
Yeah.
You guys have those in the shop?
For $122 for 3. So what's the biggest difference in the price there and why? And then does it matter and for who?
it's a material thing.
Yep.
It's how they're treated. It's what it's made of and how it's assembled, right?
Okay.
So you got guys hand assembling that.
Yep.
Their steel is very hard, cryogenically treated, right? So you've got all the time, processes, and energy built into that. That makes things expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Touch points are money, right?
Mm-hmm.
You hit on Ashby and reading Trad magazine, all that stuff back then. In my opinion, it's a comfort thing. You know, my dad can look at that iron will and feel like they look like the broadheads he bought when he first went bow hunting.
Yeah.
Right, he killed his first deer with a big fixed blade, and that's when he looks at that, it's appealing. It's like, that makes sense to me. That's what I want to shoot.
Yeah.
You know, he even looks at me with some of the blades I shoot, and he's like, why do you shoot? I don't want to shoot that. I want to shoot this. And I'm like, so I think that's why there's so many options. It's just what makes the shooter comfortable.
Yeah.
Like if a guy comes in and he says, "Oh, fixed blades are dumb," I hear it all the time. "I can't believe you shoot those. This is crazy. Why would you ever shoot that? I'll never shoot that." Well, the last thing I'm going to do is hand him a pack of fixed blades or mechanicals. Sorry, I'm going to hand him fixed blades. So it's just a comfort shooter option. It's what makes you happy. That's going back to it. There's no wrong way to do it. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
I'm here to show you the options that are available, that are going to make you comfortable in the woods. Like if guys hunt together, I don't like to set them up with separate broadheads, especially if they're new into bow hunting. And, you got 2 or 3 guys that are going on a big hunt. They're going out remote. They're all shooting bows. We're going to the haul road for 7 days. Like, let's set you guys up with the same broadheads. Do you shoot the same arrows? Probably not. Do you shoot the same length and all that? No, it's highly unlikely. But let's at least set you up with the same equipment in case somebody's bag gets lost, you run off, you run this and that. So, there's a lot of value in that for me too, is setting the guys up with just what the group's doing. If you got a guy that's experienced and he's running fixed blades, the last thing he wants me to do is set his buddy up with mechanicals, because that's what I shoot. I'm going to set them up with what they shoot.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's,
sure.
You got all these options. You got all these theories. The Ashby theory stuff goes back to what were the speeds of those bows. You need X amount of energy and momentum to get into a body cavity to do the job that it's meant to do, right? We don't want the thing running miles and miles and suffering. We want it quick and easy. So I agree with that theory to a point. Do I think it's a necessity in the compound bows nowadays? No. But if a guy wants to shoot an 80-pound bow with a 700 grain arrow, I can do that too. Like, let's do it. If that's what you want to do and that's what makes you happy, then that's where we're going to go.
Sure. Right.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So
on the subject of broadheads, a carryover question from the last episode. Have you ever seen, handled, or shot those toxic broadheads?
We used to sell them when we first had the shop, but they were in there.
Just a curiosity question, really.
I've had a few guys that were successful with a toxic. They were, at that time, I was a new bow mechanic. I know way more now than I used to know. I still don't know everything. Like, you got to learn something new every day, right?
Yeah.
That was a hard broadhead for us to keep happy out of some of the bows.
Really? Didn't like to fly.
It's always a learning process with some new equipment, and at the time that one was fun and interesting. Like, it was a nasty head, and it would kill your broadhead target quickly.
Yeah, I imagine so.
The wormhole stuff was funny and amazing. It was pretty wild to see it, the way it cored stuff out. But I never shot that. That's when we were playing with a few other things. Like Randy Ulmer was coming to the table with like the Ulmer Edge stuff, and it was like the bow shop. I had a guy working for us. I was still working at Caterpillar, so Beth and I are running it part time and doing the backside stuff. And Gordon had come on for me for a few years. Was an awesome guy, and he'd run the shop for us. And so we were just playing around with lots of stuff and trying to learn as much as we can at that time. And that one was a wild, interesting head.
Yeah.
It's a really cool concept, but yeah.
Lots of cutting area, lots of sharp surface area to cut some holes. But
absolutely shoot a bear at a bait with it just to see what it did.
Yeah.
Well, I think Randy said he did, didn't he?
I think he said he did.
Oh, yeah. He said
he just didn't like the fact that it fell apart.
He stuck one and
it killed it dead.
Stood up, turned around, and fell down dead.
Nice.
Yeah. No, he said the reason he didn't like it was it went through the bear, and then it hit a tree on the other side, and it barely poked into the tree.
Yeah. It just lost so much momentum there.
Yeah. So it didn't have enough energy to pierce the tree.
We
Right.
killed the bear, but we didn't kill the tree.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was shooting, shuttle tees, and
Right.
my dad was shooting the razor tricks. And if you hit a tree with those things, you don't get that broadhead back, even
Yeah.
if it's on the other side of
Right.
a bear.
See, I would almost say that's a benefit, though. You don't lose it to a tree.
Right,
So
can you imagine
it's
trying to
like-
sharpen that thing?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was insane. Right. So on the shuttle T,
Mhm.
I was a Monsters fan of shuttle T. Love that thing. And then Dan sold that company a while back, and he's just doing option archery now, right? So he's not doing broadhead stuff. But the guys at B3, pretty close to us, they're making a broadhead called the Destruct.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. Very, very familiar feeling to the shuttle T.
Is it?
My kids shoot it. My wife shoots it. That's a fantastic
And
blade.
the company is called
Mhm.
B3.
Yeah, B3. They're out of Kentucky.
Okay.
Good guys. One of the guys is in and out of Alaska quite a bit. He lives up here.
And the name of the broadhead is?
The Destruct.
Okay. I'm going to look it up.
That thing is phenomenal. We've had some close friends of ours killed some caribou with that thing, and that's a highly recommended fixed blade for us. It looks. People are like, "Oh, it's so small," but
It's got a screw holding in every single blade.
Yep,
Is
it's a
that what's
T9.
called? Okay. Interesting.
They're easy to rebuild. We got rebuild kits for them. They're silly sharp. The new model's got sharpened blades on the backside as well.
Mhm.
It's an 1 3/16 blade.
Mhm.
It's nasty and it looks like a tiny package. When you compare it to some of the other broadheads, it's bigger than your traditional stuff, like your traditional Montec. This
Mhm.
Destruct is bigger than that blade. Just doesn't look it.
So that's a good lead into my next question, because I've only ever shot Montecs out of a compound.
Yep.
Okay. Tell me what you think about those. What used to be the Montec and is now the M3, which is what I switched to.
Right.
The
so
solid.
Montec is still around. M3 is completely new. You can still get original Montec.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I'm
that's just-
shooting those.
That's just the mold thing, right? So the Montec is your G5, your Old Faithful, vented
Yep.
broadhead.
Yeah.
The M3 is new and improved over that. It's solid. And that's where we go back to what makes a guy comfortable, right? So you got this crowd of guys, like just these hardcore Ashby guys, right? So you have these hardcore vented blade guys. The vented blades, yeah, they might whistle a little bit in the air, but once they get in the body cavity, they allow it to keep going, right? Less surface area. You're vented, you're allowing stuff to pass through and not
Okay.
stop the spin.
Okay.
So now you have a solid blade, super quiet, could be argued a little bit stronger. But then
Mhm.
you got the guys that argue that it doesn't pass through the body cavity as well. Then you come into single bevel, that arrow keeps spinning. So you have all these things that just keep it
Yeah.
going on what makes the shooter the most comfortable with the equipment they're shooting.
Do you see a lot of guys running those Montecs and M3s up here?
Montec is probably the largest fixed blade sale. Like we sell
Really?
the Montec the most.
Hmm.
It's Old Faithful. It's been around.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's the next thing to Thunderheads,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All the guys that come in.
I remember seeing Montecs in the magazines as a kid.
right.
You know.
Yeah, almost every guy that come in has been shooting bows for a long time. Probably has a box of Thunderheads still laying around.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I hear. Oh, I used to shoot Thunderheads. What do I want? And I'm giving you a Montec.
Is that the old NAP Thunderheads?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's a blast from the past. You know,
Yeah.
just hearing you talk about this stuff, I'm remembering stuff from the old bow catalogs and
Right.
what used to be there. And there's some companies that aren't around anymore, but
Oh, Gander Mountain. Remember
Yeah.
looking through that
yes,
thing.
yes. Did you ever see and I might get this name wrong. You tell me if it's right or not. The Simmons broadheads. They looked like a shark.
I don't remember that.
It was like the same blade profile as like a shuttle T was.
Really?
But it was a 2-blade. And they made them,
Mhm.
real long front end with that sweeping blade, and they made the shorter ones.
Really?
That-
No, the only serrated stuff like that I remember seeing is Zwicky.
Yeah, it wasn't serrated, but it was
Right.
just kind of that
Shark tooth
same
looking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it might have had a different name or something like that. But Simmons seems like the name
Huh.
that I'm recalling. But I remember seeing that came into the Traditional Bowhunter magazine and seeing a bunch of guys shoot those, and then I just stopped hearing about them.
Right. No,
Yeah,
don't remember that.
there's some
one.
interesting designs that come and go.
That's a fact.
But you haven't had like any large plaint quantities about the G5 3 blades.
No.
Yeah.
No, if it was, it wouldn't be in the store.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the broadhead that I've run, like I said, the most through my compounds. The best testimonial I have for it is that bear hanging up there with that bald spot on his head. I call that one Dr. Phil.
Nice.
And I shot that one on the ground at like 28 and it zipped through just the rib cage, but it hit a rib on the way out, maybe on the way in too. But I couldn't find the arrow. The bear went 15, 20 yards and tipped over. And I couldn't find the arrow. I'm looking around after I skinned it and quartered it. We're getting ready to pack out of there. And I'm like, where's my arrow?
Yeah.
And I was shooting Full Metal Jackets. And so I'm looking around. And then I bump into something right behind me as I'm at the tree line because he was out in a little clearing at the bait site. And it was my arrow sticking in a tree. And it was like 35 yards past where he was standing. And it was about the exact same height. And so it just in and out, it just zipped right through him. Perfect. But that was, I took a picture of it. That's still one of my favorite things that I've done. I thought that was pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah. One thing I think that's intriguing me about this whole archery world is part of what made me fall in love with the gun world was just all the nerdy little avenues you can go down.
Oh yeah.
It's just
terrible.
And all of the other nerds that nerd out more than you do that you can just, and they're playing with things and you can watch, all the different stuff that people are trying to do and change and,
I would say that archery is probably even a bigger black hole than the gun world.
And I'm realizing that and I love it. And I want to dive into it.
It's very fun.
It's
a lot of fun.
I tell a lot of guys that come in, I'm like, no, we make the black guns easy. We've got way more stuff than that. It's crazy. We'll confuse you in a heartbeat.
Right. Well, there's so much more going on. It's such a, it was the art and the science of it makes it, you're not just pulling a trigger.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just breathing and pulling it, holding a gun and pulling the trigger, which, some people seem to have a hard time with, but being able to hit a target. But with a bow, everything is, for one, working your way up to a weight that's even legal to hunt.
Right.
Arrows,
fletchings. We ain't talk. I don't even want. Can we not talk fletchings? That's just too much for me.
Sure.
I thought about bringing it up.
That's something I need to have you redo too. Is I need to get some 4-inch sharp helicals on mine at some point.
Ooh,
I need to get rid of my factory 2-inch blazers.
Oh boy.
They shoot fine, but I just like that look of the spin.
When I was
that classic football spin flight.
They
I just like
straight,
watching
too.
that. Yeah.
When I was shooting that Ultratech of my dad's, and I was shooting aluminums out of it, the old aluminum shafts and
the old camo hunters.
Yeah. And he had a couple arrows that had 5-inch helical fletching.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yep.
Like actual feather fletchings.
No, they weren't feather. No,
really?
They were the plastic or
I
whatever.
thought you were shooting.
I didn't shoot any actual feathers. I may have for fun a few times. I never hunted with them or anything.
Okay.
I may have pulled them out and been like, "Hey, can I shoot these?" He's got a box of arrows. It's like 2 foot by 2 foot. Just tons of full of arrows from his years and years of archery.
Right. Yeah, like a soft vein tech or something.
But
and
he did all that fletching and everything.
Right.
He would paint his own arrows back in the day. And everything. But
so we don't have to talk too much about fletching, but I do want to pick your brain about arrows. I want to pick your brain about arrows, though.
Okay.
As the nerdy guy that wants to figure out a lot of this stuff, you had mentioned different diameters earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Dalton was just mentioning different materials.
Yep.
What's like your bread and butter? Like, what are the most common arrow types that are available now?
Can we take guesses before you say it, Mariah? What do you think?
So most common what material?
Material, diameter, anything. Yeah.
Most common material, carbon, 5mm.
What brand and model do you think? Because I have an exact guess.
Easton Axis.
That's my guess too.
That's house favorite, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the heaviest grain per inch carbon arrows that we like to sell. It's fantastic. It's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
The quality is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to worry about spining and this and that. It's just a very simple arrow, and it's just going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to hate pulling it out of a 3D target.
Oh yeah,
but we have stuff to sell you for that too.
Yeah.
No, Easton Axis 5mm is absolutely house favorite. It's a workhorse. It's just going to do everything. There's bigger and smaller, and FMJ is fantastic for a guy who wants to shoot the heaviest thing he can find.
Mm-hmm.
That shaft is It's not an FOC shaft. It's very heavy grain per inch. So it likes to be heavy. I shot a moose with it
all the way through.
Yeah, I shot a moose with it a few years ago, 47 yards, same story. Big fat mechanical, by the way, and had to just dig it out of the spruce tree behind him. It was crazy.
Nice. Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said for momentum, stuff like that, getting those things just to keep going. I like the smaller diameter stuff. I don't know why. I just, that's the way I go.
Doesn't Easton make a micro 4mm axis?
Right.
Yeah.
So there's 4mm long range, used to be the injection. That's when they had the deep 6 stuff for a while. Now it comes with an outsert, just standard tips. Everything's kosher. Everything's normal.
Okay.
Shot that shaft for a while and then started playing with the Pro Comps, which is now the X10s. I started playing with Pro Comps a while back. I've never picked up a piece of equipment that just made such a better shot. It was insane.
Really?
I tested the theory multiple times. I put different fletchings on them just to see if I had some kind of fluke thing going on. I shot them for a week and had the same result next to everything else that I was playing with. And
like just tighter groups? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. Tighter crew. It was insane. I don't get to play outside with a lot of stuff. I mean, we're 10 hours in the shop. The last thing I do when I go home is shoot a bow. I've been shooting bows, contrary to popular belief. So it was fun to get back into that because I found something I was like, I couldn't explain. I was like, what is going on here? It's just the quality of the equipment is so high that reflects in the shot. It was amazing. So it's probably the most expensive shaft you can get your hands on in the hunting world. I think that's because of the quality of the components and the time built the time to build that thing. It's amazing. It was one piece of equipment that I picked up that just instantly made a difference. So that was fun to play with, but got tons of options. We try to keep it simple. We got Easton in the house. We got Gold Tip. We got Victory. We can get our hands on pretty well anything. But definitely a monstrous rack of Easton axis when you walk in the door.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when I was in there looking at arrows, this would have been probably a year ago, and Andrew was in the shop.
Right.
We were looking at what was the heaviest arrow I could get without having to go full custom inserts and go up heavier broadhead weight and all that.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity. And I think the heaviest spine axis 5mm that we could get was actually higher grains per inch than the heaviest FMJ spine that I could get.
Right.
And that was just because of the amount of material needed to get the spine and the axis without having the aluminum sleeve.
Yeah.
Made the axis a denser grains per inch, which was very interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. That seems like a pretty stout arrow.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I shot starting out with the compound, and then I switched to FMJs. Partly because I think in the back of my head I'm still seeing the old pictures from when I was a kid of
you pick up an aluminum arrow.
Carbon arrows blowing up and hitting you in the hand.
Yep.
And you pick up an aluminum, and sure, it'll bend, but it's not going to go through your hand unless you're doing it like an idiot, right?
That's a comfort thing. It takes you back to what you used to do. It's a piece of equipment that you've been successful with in the past.
Right.
I saw a lot of FMJs, the guys that shot big aluminums back in the day. You touch it, and it's like, oh, that's familiar.
Yeah,
this
is
like
just
home.
a smaller,
with that.
Yeah, smaller, skinnier version of what I used to shoot. Yeah.
And that just falls more back on the way I like to do things. If you guys are happy and that's what you want to shoot, that's what we're shooting.
I like those FMJs so much that I bought them and had trad vanes put on them, and that's what I shoot out of my recurve too.
Right, that's what I'm running on my recurve.
And they shoot phenomenal. Yeah, they shoot like lawn darts out of that recurve of mine. Right. They shoot awesome. Way better than the old camo hunters.
There's a reason.
Well, I'm sure. When I was in the shop earlier talking to the other gentleman in there that was working with you, we were talking about shooting the old camo hunters, and I'm sure Mariah, you remember this too. When you'd shoot one and hit the side of your target stand or skip out and hit a rock or something, and you'd bend it, and you had to have an angled.
I never did that.
And then you had a 2x4 in the shop with an angled hole drilled through it, big enough to fit that arrow shaft in, and then you'd bring it back in the garage and then wrench on that arrow shaft and try to bend it back without putting a kink in the aluminum. And
That's just something that, you don't hear about.
We've
anymore.
actually got some of the old arrow spinners with a dial indicator on them, so you could spin them and find where the bend was, and it's got a lever to just.
Oh, really?
straighten 'em
Yeah, I think
back.
my dad had one of those.
Yeah.
He had back in the day. He had the whole setup.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, painting his own arrows.
Yeah.
With the he had the thing spinning that. Stringing his own bows, tuning everything.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good old memories.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the reason I picked your brain about the arrow types is actually a selfish reason.
Oh boy.
Kind of like I only had 2 choices of bow.
Right.
I wanted to ask you, what would your recommendation be for an arrow for somebody that's got a over 33-inch draw?
Yeah, we're gonna have to dive in and, of course, make sure we can get the spine and whatever you want to shoot. But pretty easy to keep happy with the equipment that's available now. So you could still shoot pretty well any arrow in the shop at whatever you want. So if you want an FMJ, great. We got a spine for that. If you want Easton Axis, we got a spine for that. Gold tip, Victory, it's all there. Fairbanks tends to be a little heavier arrow minded. They like, a lot of the guys coming up, specifically military guys or guys that's not from here, typically going to show up and think, my whitetail stuff isn't going to work. Right. There's some truth to that too. So a lot of guys here running heavier inserts, heavier arrows, heavier broadheads than a typical setup or like my normal setup. So we've got more options than we have bows for you.
Okay, good. Good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be coming to visit you soon then.
There's probably 7 options in the shop for you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because I'm not sure zeroed in. I'm kind of leaning more towards the mechanical side, honestly. Like just because kind of just seems like more the route I'm wanting to go.
Yep.
So I guess once I get solid on that, then I'll come in and get the whole setup going.
Yep.
Do you find that speed is to the advantage of the mechanicals? Or does it not matter so much anymore with the advancements and how well they're making them now?
I don't know if I'd call it not necessarily speed, but yes. I'm going to look at a poundage and draw length thing.
Okay.
Like there's an energy thing there that I want to make sure happens. Like I've seen my wife kill stuff all over the world. She's got a 26-inch draw length. Her arrow weighs 400 grains. It's 27 inches long. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
The last thing I'm going to do is put a mechanical on it. But I mean, while we're sitting here, I've learned that the hard way too. Like I've made some bad decisions in the past with equipment setups and trying different things out. So we had some hard lessons learned. We lost a bear. That's pretty hard. Nobody wants to lose anything, but I think any bow hunter is eventually going to have that unfortunate situation.
Sure.
Right.
I mean, we all hope that we don't, but we've learned a lot with some setup stuff. And then that's where we got into diving into all the what's actually happened, pumping the brakes and trying to educate ourselves properly on a good setup. So I'm normally not going to run into anybody under 55 pounds like that, just into that barely legal thing for like a brown bear moose thing. I'm just not going to recommend a mechanical.
Yeah.
Even some of the smaller ones like Rage makes a plus P, just a smaller, like 1.5 inch, 3/4 cut. That's 100 grains. They even have a 125 too, but it's just, I don't know. It's just not my way of thinking.
It's just taking so much gas out of that.
Yeah. Cause I mean, the way we've always looked at archery stuff, like we're all family, right? So when you guys come in and buy equipment, like it's not have a great time. Like I want you back in a month, and I want you back in 6 months and a year, and I want to keep the relationship going, and I'm here to help you guys be successful with your equipment in the field. So the last thing I want is a failure. I don't want you to go to the woods and lose something, or this broadhead didn't do this, or this arrow didn't do this, and that's the last thing we want, because that's on me. So going to make sure we make the proper recommendations on what we're doing. Like if you come to me and said, hey, let's go to the peninsula and hunt brown bears, am I going to go with my 435 grain mechanical? Probably not. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
There's a different setup for this. Would I take my setup now moose hunting? Yeah, absolutely. Would I take it muskox? Probably not. So it's like a situational thing, and we'll talk about what's going on. But, the last thing I want to do is just hand a bad choice to
Right.
everybody. So
So, as a general rule of thumb, if you're shooting a longer than average, say
27 or more and
Yeah.
55 pounds and up, you can probably run anything you want as long as the arrow is up to the task, weight wise.
Mhm.
yeah. So it's just all about that kinetic energy. And
Yep.
Yeah. That comes from arrow length, draw
Yep.
weight.
Mm-hmm.
I like
and then
to-
obviously impact distance
Yeah.
too.
and I try to look at things from a momentum standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think about the momentum. I want that. We want 2 holes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want one. I don't want an entry and a stop. I want an entry and an exit.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm shooting for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. What's your comfort zone as far as distance goes?
Oh boy, that's a tough one.
Yeah. This is a rabbit hole.
It's a toilet bowl. Man, it's shooter stuff, right? So my long hoorah was a 96-yard moose.
Mm,
One arrow kill.
Yep, 30-yard recovery.
Very
nice.
nice.
Fantastic.
He probably didn't even know what hit him.
Oh, it was amazing. What's really stupid is like it was a perfect day. Some friends of mine took me up where they go moose hunting. The guys were successful up there all season. They killed a couple of nice bulls in the archery week that we get down the valley,
Mm-hmm.
and they'd seen a couple more. So they come in, invited me up, and took me in there. It was first day of school for the kids, so it was kind of funny. I called Beth and woke everybody back up before the kids were going to school because I was tagged out. It was awesome. But that year, like all that year, I was setting up a new bow and playing and trying to shoot when I can. And we had a shop up on the hill behind the Harley Davidson store there in Wasilla.
Mm-hmm.
And walk out to the mailbox and check the mail. And the back target, we had a little outdoor range at the time in that location. The back target was 96 yards. So I'd shoot that all summer and getting ready and playing. And I could just run out there with a quiver full of arrows and check the mail and shoot some arrow and then run back into the shop and work. So
Yeah.
I screwed up on these 3 bulls and, walk of shame back to the wheeler and looked up and they're on the hill next to me and I ranged them. I was like, that's kind of weird. So I, beat the rangefinder on my knee and ranged them 6 more times. And I was like, yeah, okay. Well, I know what pin that is. And yeah,
Uh,
here we are.
very cool.
Never happened again. It's too perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
No wind, no bugs. It was
Mhm.
beautiful,
Really?
sunny. It was one of those perfect mornings that just won't happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably
Yeah, it was
not.
awesome.
But you get to keep the story forever.
So
Yeah.
speaking of pin,
I was just about to go there.
the sight world has
Well,
just come
Uh-huh.
so far.
Yep.
Obviously, we kind of alluded to the Garmin Zero earlier. I'm sorry, not Garmin Zero.
Well, any of the new Garmin,
I think-
fancy new Garmin products is like the sight's a Garmin Zero,
Yeah.
but
They're-
then even the chronograph is the Zero. It's,
the
You're right.
C1 and
Okay.
the
Yeah.
X1.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
aside from that, right,
Mhm.
used to be the multi-pin fiber optic pin sight, right?
7 pins and this. Yeah.
Sure.
yeah, that's what I'm shooting.
And then we started the evolution of the sliders.
Yep.
And now you got multi-pins coming out, perpendicular,
Vertical.
and then you have
Yep.
a slider on that one too. You
Mhm.
have one pin that is your
Mhm.
slider pin, and then you have the ones like I've got that Spot Hog Fast Eddy.
Yep.
And it's got one single pin with 2 dots on it,
Yep.
and it's got that rotating dial.
Right.
So, talk a little bit about different brands that offer what you guys sell the most of for sites up here.
Mm-hmm.
Advantages, disadvantages, repeatability, consistency, durability.
The consistency thing back with the equipment, like the tolerances are so tight now that everything's amazing. That moose shot was one of the first years that Dan Evans was producing the option sight.
Okay.
That was the option 6. So that sight, most of the guys that's been in the store have seen it. That's one of Andrew and ours favorite sights to run. Very popular for us in the store. It's a multi-purpose. So everything option archery is multi-purpose. So this has got a fixed head that pivots out of the way, and then you got a moving pin inside of that. So you got a single pin and a fixed pin. So that was how I was able to make that happen because I'd shot that single pin.
Mhm.
I think my longest distance on that setup, I was like right at 100 yards. And of course, 96 was just above the bubble and everything was happy. That one worked out great.
Mhm.
Now they've got the new one, the Canyon Pounder is just setting that up. Single pin's in the middle of the scope. It's not in the top or the bottom anymore. Your go-to can be in the middle. You pivot that out of the way. You still got some fixed pins in there.
Mm-hmm.
All the hybrid sights and moving stuff, like that's definitely the most popular stuff here, specifically for haul road. Like you declutter, like you said, you're running 7 pins. You get stuck in a count. You got an animal at 65 yards. Now you got to split your 60 and your 70 and hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us can pin gap pretty good, but why put the stress on there and the possibility of having inaccuracy when you can just set your pin for that exact thing and
Right.
and practice on that. I mean, there's a lot to be said for rolling something to 72 yards and putting the pin on it instead of hold your 70 a little high. So
Sure.
yeah, the quality of the components coming up is just amazing. You know, Option Archery's building some fantastic sights, as well are all the guys. You know, Black Gold, V3, Spot Hog, HHA. It's just insane at the stuff coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the quality of the components are just off the chart.
Yeah.
Repeatability is easy. Matthew's running a bridge lock. I take my side in and out. I mark where it's at. I take it in and out for travel.
Yep.
You know, the Picatinny, we've been playing with that. Same thing. Mark where it's at and put it back on. Everything's pretty happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. That's something that I didn't get a compound thinking that I was going to go that route.
Right.
Until a friend of mine that actually he's been on the show, Matt Size. He and I met at the Golden North 3D shoot on Hot Springs Road.
Yep.
And he was, I think he was getting the new bow and he was changing his sight, and I saw what he was shooting, and I asked him if he was going to be wanting to offload that, and so I bought it used from him.
Yep.
And then set it up on that Elite bow when I got it. But I went from a fixed 5-pin Black Gold, just a very simple, very rudimentary. It's got a compact housing. It's not super big and bulky.
Yep.
I liked that because it felt out of the way. And then I went the total opposite. And I went with something that sticks out another 4 or 5 inches off the end of the bow. But the accuracy, and like you said, being able to just range and dial, just like on a rifle scope,
yes,
you can just put that pin right where you want to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
But the disadvantage is arguably it's not as fast, but in the time that it takes to dial versus the time that it takes you to shoot that gap in a multi-pin, are you really losing anything?
Yeah. And like I've done it too. Like you're stuck counting pins and then you miss the opportunity or you grab the wrong pin and you just miss completely. So having less pins in the clutter, dialing it to what you're trying to shoot, there's a lot to be said for that.
The reason that I was happy with shooting that single pin with the 2 dots on it is because it's got that little multi-selector on the dial. And so if I've got it stuck at the bottom where the top is 20, the middle one is about at 34, 35.
Right.
And so anything that I need to dial for is probably far enough away that I've got time to dial. Otherwise, I can shoot to 40 holding just high on my low dot.
Yeah.
And so that's how I kind of justified it. And it shoots great. I mean, that one has the little micro dots in it too. I almost wish I had a little illuminator on there. That's something that I think would be pretty handy.
Well, let's put you a light on there and be done with it.
Yeah.
So you can't use the electronic bow sight like a Garmin, but you'd be able to use an illuminator.
Right. Battery powered sight light that light the fiber.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is legal up here. Okay.
Yeah. Because that has a little screw-in, spot on the top of it. I just need to.
Yeah. I've still got, I believe, like an old 5-pin True Glow.
Yeah.
That is old.
Yeah.
I just looked it up. I found one for $20 on eBay.
Nice.
It was real nice when it was probably.
Don't you have a 7-pin Spot Hog?
Maybe that's what it is. I thought it was a True Glow for some reason, but
yeah,
I gotta go home and look at.
I
just shot it today, but
yeah,
that's one thing that sights has not been anything that I've ever looked into changing. But if there's something that I could improve a little bit with,
my buddy Remington has one, and you're going to know what brand this is. It's a white sight housing. It's a multi-pin, but it's got somewhat of a slider setup to it. So you shoot at 20 and you shoot at 60, and everything else automatically sets the pin distance in between once you zero those two. Does that sound right?
Yeah, Trophy Ridge.
What do you think about those? Is that pretty reliable for that setup?
Yes, in the proper bow setup. Like they have, it's not for everybody. This is why we stopped selling them. They just don't work on everybody's setup.
Okay.
Specifically lower poundage, shorter draw weight stuff. Like you can run into a hard time getting your 20 in the proper spot for everything else to follow suit. So
Okay.
great system, great idea. It's just not for everybody.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it works for him, and he's killed a bunch of stuff with it, but
Yeah.
I've never tried one. I see them for sale here and there.
The
but
React.
Yeah. Seems like a really interesting idea. I mean, it's basically just taking the idea of a sight tape
Yes.
and putting it into a mechanical system.
Doing the math for you in the mechanical system of the site. Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. Pretty cool tech.
A lot of cool tech these days.
Well, do you have any quick short stories, like fun experiences bow hunting, favorite trip, something that went wrong?
There's always something going wrong.
Something to end on a giggly note, perhaps.
After all the people we just upset with all the gear talk,
Yeah,
and
I mean-
opinions we just riled up.
But that's the thing, is it's such a wide variety of, half the listeners are going to like one thing, half the listeners are going to like the other. And
and I like the thing you keep following back to, which is just it's whatever you're comfortable with,
Yeah.
whatever you want to shoot.
Right.
Like,
Well, I'm definitely going to go next time I see Brad. I'm going to, tell him how he needs to be a real man and switch to fixed blades.
like, I still tell him that, just give him a hard time.
Yeah.
And I know he's going to be listening to this. So
Yeah. There you go, Brad.
Yeah. Funny stories. Man, I'm so clumsy in the woods. It's freaking hilarious that I get anything done. This last fall sticks out for me with my kids because, like I said, Courtney's killed a whitetail back when she was younger with the crossbow, which is pretty awesome. But she got her first buck this year with a bow. She hardly got it done because Dad's just clumsy.
You shooting out of a stand or a saddle?
Yeah, so my buddy Keith in Pennsylvania had set up a stand for us over a creek bed and on the edge of a cornfield. We put a decoy out, and I never hunted over decoys before. So these deer are coming up. They stand up the hill, kind of a sunset thing, and these does are they're not impressed by the decoy that's beside us. And I get really excited, right? So I'm telling my daughter to get ready. So she just stands up and gets ready to shoot because she don't know what's happening. She thinks there's deer under us or something. Well, these deer are 200 yards looking at the decoy, which is right below us. Well, they run off. She's looking at me like, "Oh my God, Dad!" She's kind of mad at me because the deer run off. And 10 minutes later, we hear some leaves in the creek bed, and we're just kind of paying attention to that. And I'd got so excited with the deer coming down the hill and trying to get her ready and situated and do the ranging and this and that. And I took my bino strap off my shoulders and just set the binos on the edge of the ladder or the hang on. And I almost knocked the buck out that was under us with my binos. So I just knocked it out of the thing. So she, now this is like two things that I've screwed up. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, what am I doing here?" And she's laughing at me. And anyway, little buck comes in right to the decoy like nothing ever happened. And she was successful, got her first buck with a bow. And the next evening, I'm in a blind with my son. He's 12. And we're sitting there playing. I never knew. He learned me something new. We're playing Battleship on the phones. I was having a blast with that. And he's hooked up on a battery pack. And we were there. Pennsylvania's that 3-up law.
Okay.
Adults, you got to have 3 points or more. Well, there's a big 6-point coming in. And my buddy Keith, we can't shoot them, but kids can shoot anything.
Yeah. Okay.
So I see this buck coming with a nice frame, and I'm jacked because he looks giant, right? Because we're in a ground blind. He's 20 yards away.
Okay.
I go to freaking out. I knock the battery pack out of my son's hand, and his phone falls on the ground, and he just gives me this look like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" And I'm like, I'm screaming buck, and I can hardly get it out of my mouth. And he's shooting a crossbow at the time, and it's on a bipod, or the bog pod, so it's like locked in, ready to go.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to take the crossbow off his safety, and he's like, "Daddy, I got it. I've already done it, Dad. I've already done it." And he's yelling at me, and I'm like, this deer's 20 yards away. I'm freaking out, knocking stuff over. Yeah. Anyway, he shot his first buck. It's fantastic, but yeah, it's just that's me in the woods. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's a show.
You ever do any blacktail hunting with your bow up here?
I have not. I've only done the rifles.
Okay.
I like to shoot guns.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Do you?
That's fun.
Yeah.
Blacktail is one of those things that I've shot a number of them with a gun, both in and out of the rut, early, late, pre-rut, post-rut, in the middle of it. And I'm thinking I'm thinking about trying it with a bow this year.
Right.
Thinking about it.
I would do it with a bow next time for sure.
In the rut, though.
That's a good time.
Pre or post, I don't know if you've got a prayer. I mean, obviously in the Alpine, you got a little more stalkability. You can see more deer. You just got a lot more chances for a stalk.
Right.
But once they move down in the trees later in the season, if you don't hit that rut right and you can't get close enough to them.
Yeah.
But if I go in the rut, I might bring my bow.
I've only been to Kodiak and hunted them there. So where we were at on the island, I went with some friends of ours, and they weren't very spooky.
Yeah.
They were kind of curious critters. That led to them getting shot quite a bit.
Remember what time of year you went? Like October, November?
We've done it. So I did November, where we were kind of worried about the float plane being able to come get us because everything was freezing up. And then October was a little bit early. Of course, it's Kodiak, so we had some wild weather, and you're stuck in Kodiak for 4 days, and then you're stuck out hunting for an extra 5 days, which was terrible, by the way.
Yeah. That's the end of the world when you get stuck out and you have to hunt more.
Right.
My favorite part is when the plane says, "Man, it's socked in here. I can't come get you," and it's birds singing and sunshine where I'm at. Perfect, man. I get a free extension.
Yeah, that's right.
Now I can text back home and say, "Oh man, I got weather delayed," and I keep on hunting.
Big storm, baby.
Yeah, can't make it home. Be at least another week. Anyway, well, I think that's what I had for questions and gear and whatnot.
I think so. Me too.
Yeah. No, this was a great conversation. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Packed a lot of good info in there for folks.
Maybe.
There's definitely some in there.
Yeah.
You don't give yourself enough credit.
Yeah.
Well, and it's cool because we kind of throw our episode length around. That way we throw people off.
Right.
So, sometimes we'll talk for 3 hours about absolutely nothing, and then we'll talk for, 2 hours about everything.
Something.
And so it's like
all high quality content, James. Come on.
Exactly.
I don't think we've ever talked about nothing. But there's definitely been some where we talk about more squirrel trails.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
Here's a question for you. What do you shoot squirrels with your bow? Rubber blunt?
I haven't shot one with a bow.
Really?
No.
Spear gun.
Wow.
Spear gun.
Yeah. So
we covered this.
I was just wondering. I mean, I figured you must have if your dad handed you a bow after chasing a squirrel with a spear gun.
No.
I cut one in half at a bear bait with a G5 one time.
Right.
Yeah.
Funny, the first animal I killed in Alaska ever was a squirrel. But it was with a slingshot.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I've shot him with
Man,
slingshots.
slingshot hunting small game was a lost art.
It was a good time.
That's another one of those things that you just grew up doing, and now I don't see anybody just wrist rocketing.
like, it was hardcore redneck luck. Like, my wife's like, "You would never hit that thing." And I leaned over, picked up a rock, and whack, and just looked down and was like,
And you were using rocks too.
Rock out of the driveway. It was
Nice.
fantastic.
Yeah.
That is like prehistoric man skills
it
right
was-
there.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I
Yeah.
smacked a few squirrels with a wrist rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. My buddy just gave me it's not a Simple Shot, but it's whatever the company was before Simple Shot. So he changed the name at some point.
Right.
Okay.
So it's an older slingshot, but he just showed me how to tie up the bands and everything. So
Nice.
I'm gonna try to use that for grouse hunting this year.
Yeah.
They'll
give you about 4 or 5 shots, probably.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Probably more than that.
I used to shoot pigeons growing up. You try the marble thing and then you hit them in the
Right.
body and it doesn't kill them. It just whacks them when they take off. Then they learn and they get smart. But those, the ball bearings, right? That are, I don't even know how big to compare them
3/8.
to. Something like that.
Yeah, there's
But
3/8, there's half inch.
They are
Yeah.
so dense and they're small enough that they'll go into the bird and kill it.
Right.
But they're going fast enough that there is so much thump when it hits them.
Mhm.
That is just a lights out
Right.
weapon.
Yeah.
I've lost a lot of arrows shooting at birds. I think that's why I don't shoot at the squirrels, because I know they're just going to do that chatter laugh at you.
Right.
You know what the
right.
most annoying thing is for me watching a TV show is when I'm watching that show alone
Yeah.
and they get desperate, way too early
Mhm.
and they see a grouse in a tree
Yeah.
and they're all shooting trad bows because that's all they're allowed to have.
Yeah.
And they're just, winging and flinging and they lose 2, 3, 4 arrows shooting at
they're
one
only allowed to bring
stupid
9.
bird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not choosing the shot angle with the tree trunk as a backstop. So they're
Right.
not catching their arrows. They never find them. Now I just sit there, and my wife was like, "All right, well, why don't you just watch something else? If all you're going to do is get mad at the archers, then
now
turn something else on."
On the flip side of that, there are some absolute just marksmen on that
well,
show.
Clay that won like season 7. Clay Hayes, is that his name?
So yeah,
That guy, he makes his own bows. He's got a YouTube channel. He's been writing about trad bow hunting for longer than he was ever interested in going alone.
Yeah.
And that guy could bow hunt.
Right.
I loved watching him on there. That dude was one of us. Like, he was from the hunting community. I was so happy to see him go on there and then win.
Right.
And he killed that. I think it was a black-tailed buck with his bow. Yeah, beautifully
pretty
done.
awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, to extend this out a little bit, speaking of alone, a little bit of a bone to pick from the archery world for you guys. They spread what was part of the misinformation of why I didn't want to take a bow into a bear bait.
Oh yeah, they spread so much nonsense.
So I don't remember which episode it was, but a guy named Jordan won, and he shot a moose.
Yeah.
And it was, as they do, they got the big info thing that comes up on the screen.
Right.
And he's finding blood with bubbles in it and everything. Got a good hit on it. But the thing on the screen said, a lung shot moose can take 3 hours, to die. Blah,
really?
Blah, blah, this, that, the other. And,
propaganda.
maybe a nicked one. I don't know. But I mean,
if you shoot it high in the lungs with a small broadhead,
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's going to take
if you
a
just
long time to die, but I still don't see it being 3 hours.
That just seems like so long. But that's the thing. That came right across the screen, and then I saw your video of the bear bait. And
Have you seen that?
0.5 seconds later,
I showed him today at the shop.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, like 0.5 seconds later, the thing's just coughing and hacking.
Oh
and
yeah,
keeled over.
Yeah.
And it's
Between
totally
Mo and
different
I-
worlds. And so
between Mo and I shooting the bears that we've just shot with a bow, we've never had one that's taken more than 10 seconds to be on the ground dead.
yeah,
Like it's fast.
and it was just that's the one bone I got to pick with alone is
Yeah.
sometimes they just don't. They
Right.
lead people the wrong way.
Well, and you got to
But-
think that's not hunters on the director's team and the production team, and so they're just whatever they think.
right.
Google.
Yeah.
Well, it's their technical advisor.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and
Everybody's got 'em and-
the real problem with that is there are, I'm sure, hundreds of thousands of viewers that all think the same thing that you did after seeing that.
Right.
If you don't know bow hunters, then you don't know any better than to believe that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. A lung shot animal, I don't care if it's with a 22, is going to die. And it ain't going to take 3 hours.
Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't matter what you shoot it with.
Yeah.
You can shoot a moose through the lungs of the field point, and as long as it goes through, it ain't. I don't think it'd take a moose 3 hours to die if you shot him with a field point. I mean, not that I'm ever going to find out,
Right.
but you
right. I mean,
you put
once
a hole
start
in the
really
lungs.
Talking about those small holes, yes, it's a hole in the lungs, but even a human can live quite a while with a small hole in his lung.
Yeah, a lung, but both lungs.
Yeah.
True,
Both lungs.
true,
Yeah.
both
You
lungs,
can
yeah.
actually live without one of your lungs.
Yeah.
Right.
That's-
So anyway, I mean, that's
Yeah.
about squirrel trails.
T-shirt idea.
So talking about squirrel trails on the alone. I've never seen the show.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity,
Mhm.
what's the price?
$500,000.
Oh, that'd be worth it.
So what? So the concept of the show is, how, there's like
Well, I know what the
all these
concept
different
is.
shows, and
I-
the thing that annoys me is when they're like 21 days, and I'm like, well, anybody knows you can pull out in 21 days. You just got to be,
Right.
tough enough.
Most guys make it 20 days.
Right. But this one, I mean, it's literally you go out and you don't know if you're the first person to leave or the last person there. Well,
There's a big mental part of it.
yeah. Which the mental, that's the thing that surprised me about that show. And we'll get off this tangent in a minute, but I mean, so many people cracked early, and I don't know, I might too, but
Oh yeah.
it's the mental game plays a bigger role in it than anything else. I mean, there's definitely people that get pulled medically
Mhm.
and they're just
Mhm.
tougher than their body will let them be. But
Well, there was the one season where they had the 100-day challenge, because most of the shows
Yeah.
will end, somewhere, past day 60 is when you're down to the last remaining few.
rock
And it's just the last man standing is the winner, right? And so there's no cap of how long you have to make it to be eligible to win. It's just if everybody else quits in 10 days, then you make it 11, you win $500,000.
yeah.
But they did one that was specifically the 100-day challenge, and the prize was $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And
if you made it,
there
200
was
days.
And
to 100 days.
The guy that won
His
killed a muskox with a knife.
Well, okay. He shot it with his bow and he ran out of arrows because he was hitting it in the back end and stuff like that. And so it
was a long shot.
It didn't die.
Yeah.
It was.
And he killed it with a knife.
So he ended up running up on it and jumped up and stabbed it with his knife. But he had hit it several times. He was out of broadheads. He just.
Yeah.
And
I think he only hit it twice.
Yeah.
I think he only shot at it twice.
So did they just...
It's something about he ran out of arrows. Well,
I think he ran out of shot opportunities is what it was.
No, he ran out of arrows. I remember that specifically. But it might have been that he ran out of arrows that he had with him because he might have had more back at his shelter.
Well, and they're also... And we'll stop. We don't.
It doesn't matter. It's archery.
But
right.
They're also only allowed 9 arrows.
Yeah.
And so some of them are small game blunts, and some of those are broadheads. So it could have been he ran out of big game.
He was out of broadheads.
Yeah,
right.
That's a good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
So just one more question relating to that is: so if somebody quits at 100 days and you make it 101, do they just show up with a helicopter and say you won? Or
I want to say it was.
Or do they see how much longer you make it before you quit?
No, it was 100 days and you're good.
Well, but even if it's 20 days and you make it to day 21 and you're the only guy left, then
they come.
No, you go the 100 days on that one.
Well, on that one, I just mean in general. With
in
the
general,
show.
yes.
In general, yep. They just show up with either a helicopter or a boat on the lake.
You just kind of you're dreaming about hearing helicopter rotors in the sky.
Yeah,
or having a great time and hoping they don't show up. Right?
Yeah.
So I got one more question for you.
Yep.
So at your shop in Fairbanks,
Mm-hmm.
There's a wall of broken bows. What do you guys call it? Is it the wall of destruction or the wall of broken dreams? What is
Oh, you're talking about all the older stuff? Or
no, it's blown up bows.
Oh, yeah, that's taking care of our customers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's typically stuff waiting on repair. Unfortunately, what we see a lot, especially guys getting into it for the first time, I'm excited to take a bow home. Typically the story goes, my buddy picked it up and I was in the house grabbing something and he dry fires it. He lets it go. It slips out of his hand, something like that.
Right.
So that happens way more than we wished it did.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't wish that on anybody, but it happens a lot.
Both Mo and I have had bows that have been dry fired by good friends.
Right. And then like we see it, like some of us, we do it. I had a guy a couple weeks ago. I've done it this way. Like, you get in a routine, you put your trigger on and this and that, and then the kids come out or you're at the range with all your buddies and you guys are talking and razzing each other and giving each other a hard time about whatever brand you shoot, just because that's what we do, right? We just talk a lot of garbage, and then you think you've put an arrow in there and you haven't, and you just go through your process, you shoot, and you don't have one in there. Like that happens a lot too, because you thought you were in routine and checked up, and you didn't. But the biggest thing is buddies dry fired.
Yeah. So never draw without an arrow.
Yeah, it's just I mean, we even see it in the shop sometimes. Guy wants to just pull the bow back, but you don't get to shoot it that way. You don't get to feel it that way, and then it's harder on the shoulders to let those bows down. And if you got a hold of it with your fingers, you can derail the bow, you can cause some damage and mess some things up. So we all just want to shoot them, right? So take 90 seconds and throw a trigger and an arrow in it and just shoot it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll end with one quick question.
Uh-huh.
This is not a rabbit trail.
Uh-huh.
We don't need to talk about it.
Squirrel trail.
But what's your favorite release that
Right
you
now
shoot?
Is my Carter.
Okay.
Just because. That's the name, not just because. No, it's fantastic. Took me a while to go to the thumb triggers. Pulling the bow back with a release in your hand instead of strap wrapped around your wrist is just super comfortable for me. We're in and out of the shop. We're shooting a lot of bows. We're working on stuff. If I'm working on a guy's bow or doing something, I'm going to shoot it with my trigger. Like I'm not putting on a wrist strap or whatever. So it started as a convenience thing, but now it's an accuracy, comfortable thing for me. So yeah, my handheld's a Carter. We've got quite a few models in the store, but they're all fantastic guys. But you're talking about my favorite trigger is my Carter.
Yeah. That's Andrew talked me into shooting a Carter. And is it the Wise Choice?
Wise Choice is probably our most popular.
Yeah.
It closes when you reset
your
trigger to get ready to go. And mine's kind of a multi-process. You played with it a little bit today, but
yeah.
I
mean, it's very similar to mine. Just
Carter's, those guys make such good stuff.
That is built nice. And I've got mine set real light. There's no creep, no take up. Very nice. And I like that big steel barrel on there for the thumb.
Awesome.
I love the ergonomics of it.
Yeah.
It's my favorite release.
I agree.
I need to get like 2 more.
I do have 2. I carried for a while I shot the one, and I carried a couple of wrist strap backups just for comfort. Like it was, this fall there. It was the backup. But yeah, 2 Carters set up the same.
Right now, my backup that stays in my pocket when I'm hunting with a bow is that Ultra View hinge.
Yep.
Because that's what I shoot sometimes at 3D stuff just for fun.
You hinge guys are crazy.
Yeah,
it's fun, man. It's fun.
I haven't even tried the thumb release. I think I did shoot a thumb release one time just to try it, but I didn't even want to try with that hinge. It's
my daughter hunts with a hinge. It's funny to watch her hunting videos and you hear click. I'm like, you're crazy. But no, they're fun machines.
Isn't Ultra View building a button release now?
Yeah, their button's just like their hinge. Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Pick them up. Everything feels the same, just different operation.
I'd kind of like to try that.
Yeah. Dan's got the same thing as well.
Can you get those?
They're in the store, buddy.
I didn't see it today. Are you kidding me? All right. Well, I'm going to look next time. I need to shoot one.
Gotcha.
Can you set them up real light like that Wise Choice?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Just enough where you don't punch yourself in the face.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to check that out tomorrow morning, man.
Right on.
Absolutely. Well, thanks a lot for coming on the show,
Yeah,
Chris.
thanks, guys.
Yeah. Why don't you tell people where they can find you? How can get a hold of you? Track what you guys are doing.
Sure. ScreamingEagleArchery.com is the website. We got the store in Wasilla. It's 210 Park Avenue. We're right behind kind of Bear Paw Pizza and Skidoo there. And then here in Fairbanks, we're on College, right across from the Faux House, right under the overpass. 409, I think, is the address there. 409 College Road.
Get some faux and a bow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for putting a store in our town.
Yeah, man.
I was there opening week.
Yep.
And I need to make it in there more consistently.
No, it's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Fairbanks has been super great.
Yeah.
Everybody's good to us, so
I'm looking forward to your guys' expansion.
hopefully everybody likes us because we ain't going nowhere.
I haven't heard a single bad thing about the shop, so
That's
there's
awesome.
that.
Yep. And a lot of excitement when you guys did show up. So
Yeah.
All right. Well, everybody listening, thanks for hanging in there with us. If you have any questions, feel free to write into the show. If you go to thenorthernhunter.com, we have a nice contact button there. If you go to either of our social medias, search at The Northern Hunter on Facebook or Instagram, you can reach us there. If you'd like to support what we're doing, we've got a lot of companies that have partnered with what we're doing and decided to support us. So we have discount codes with them. Most relevant for the season would be Batum 907 with discount code TNHP and Hammer Bullets with discount code The Northern Hunter. Getting bears to the bait and killing them. So not relevant to the archery conversation, but
No, we've got Batum 907 in the Wasilla store.
that's right.
Everything's there except the nasty boar. We just don't have a facility to store that and
Yeah.
contain that amazing smell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
And then we don't have any of the Fairbanks 907 stuff in Fairbanks here. It's just smaller store. You guys know it.
mhm.
Man, I would just
Stink the place up.
yeah. My neighbor next to us would just love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get every neighborhood dog from College Road running in there.
all the ladies going in to get jewelry.
Yeah.
What is that?
I can hear it now.
Yeah.
But if you want to support us in another way, we do have our shop option there as well on the website. We've got some merch options there. We've got a fresh design uploaded with the God Save the King hoodie and t-shirt availability surrounding the struggling populations of the Alaska king salmon. So if you'd like to support our fight with that and just rep it out a little bit with the logo and the king salmon, go grab up one of those. It's a pretty cool looking design.
And also steal the power of God Save the King being an old world saying.
Exactly. It's the most American thing you can do.
We can make it our own.
And we've got many more designs in the works, so keep an eye out there. Keep an eye on our Instagram. Everything will come out. Well, Chris, thank you one more time. This has been an absolutely amazing episode.
Awesome.
So,
Thanks, guys.
all right, guys. And until next week, get out there, get after it, and good luck. We'll see you there.